word that was used was collaboration. All right, a collaboration and everybody's input and all of this stuff. Well, I don't know how much it is that anymore, and I think that's a good thing because Vrabel isn't going to joke around. Vrabel's going to tighten the screws. In my opinion, there are some people in the front office that need to be told, you don't know what you're doing, and you need to take a step back. Because someone's coming into that organization now that has conviction, that will let you collaborate. He'll work with people. Yeah, sure, he'll work with you. But I'm telling you, this guy's smarter than you are. And I'm telling you, he knows what to do in terms of he has the experience from being a head coach before. He's been a coordinator before. He's been all over the league, has a lot of connections. I love the hire, okay? Of course, this guy's a friend of mine, like I said, but there's going to be a change. I'm a little bit surprised. That this happened because, I mean, there are some people upstairs in the organization that want to be heard. And sometimes they're going to have to take a bite of humble pie and understand your opinion doesn't matter on this one because there are people in the building that know more. And I hope that is what happens this time around because the collaboration project did not work. And now I'm glad it's going to change a little bit to a coach that has more experience, and then they know what they're getting exactly with Mike Vrabel.
Teddy Bruschi, just a few minutes ago on ESPN. Do you hear that, Elliot Wolf? Know your place. I believe that's a Giovanni Tavai line. Know your place. Know who's smarter than you.
I'll give you a better one. The Rock. Know your role and shut your mouth.
Bye, Elliot.
Yeah, he's gone. He's out of here.
It doesn't matter whether or not he's gone. He just better not have any say.
He's gone.
Because Mike Vrabel, according to Teddy Bruschi, needs to go in there and say, you know how you think you're smart? Well, I'm smarter than you. I know more than you, and I'm in charge. The boss is back, baby.
Yeah, I like
the
how
boss is back.
Teddy Bruschi said the collaborative project pretty much is over.
Good.
And I am a firm believer in that. I've said this before. I said it on Patriots postgame. It felt like there were too many chefs in the kitchen. And when you are a leader, when you are the head coach, you need to be making the final decision, period. We're not going to sit there and spend a lot of time and, well, what do you think? And what do you think? What do you think? When you do that, you're wasting time. Part of your responsibility is to be able to make those adjustments, those calls, those decisions quickly, and everyone needs to fall in line and say, whether they agree with it or not, that's the man. He's in charge. We're going to roll with it because that's the position that he's been given.
It was a misevaluation and a misstep by Robert Kraft to say we can just keep everybody here but let Bill Belichick go. And yes, it was a problem that Bill had become too insular. It was a problem that the staff was too small. And in some ways, yes, it was a problem that nobody in the building could challenge Bill on something. But they went too far in the other direction.
Yes.
They went too far. There were too many cooks in the kitchen. And the biggest problem is that nobody knew how to cook the meal. Nobody had ever actually done it before.
Right.
Elliot Wolf, I know a lot of the the beat writers say, well, Elliot Wolf is very well respected in NFL circles. He's an experienced guy. He's never been a primary decision maker before. And he was also a part of, the staff and the personnel department that worked with Bill Belichick to draft horrible players year after year after year. The drafts have not been good enough. The roster has not been good enough. And the attitude that will just cut Bill Belichick out of this thing and everything will get better, that was misplaced and misguided. And nobody, absolutely nobody, who was in the job that they were in last year had done it before. And now you have a situation where you have a new head coach who has done it before. And they desperately needed that.
They needed it big time. Matt, I'm predicting within the next 24 to 48 hours, we will get some more breaking news. They're going to make these moves quick. I'm telling you.
As in you'll find out who the offensive coordinator is and you'll get more clarity on the personnel department. I hope so.
Oh, it's coming. The night last week, a week ago, when they fired Gerard Mayo after 90 minutes after the game, I was like, man, just like everybody else, oh, man, that was extremely, extremely fast. And then you go to the next day, Kraft talks to the media, and I was so mad because no one asked, unless I missed it, hey, why 90 minutes? Why didn't you wait until, maybe today or the next day? 90 minutes. And then we get the report today that Vrabel is the guy. That tells me that they knew Mike Vrabel was the guy. They had to make moves quick. 90 minutes quick is still kind of fast for me, but they knew. They knew what was going on. Vrabel knew the whole process of interviewing people. It was all just because they had to do it. They knew who was coming in to be the new head coach of the New England Patriots before even the last week, before the game even started.
This has been apparent for a long time, but the story is they closed the deal.
They closed the deal.
Really, the only question was, were they going to close the deal? Mm-hmm. Mike Vrabel was their target. He should have been their target. This is the right hire, and what they have been able to do over the last week is convince him that they're the right fit for him. It was obvious. Mm-hmm. It's been obvious for a long time that Mike Vrabel was the right fit for the Patriots. He's been here, but he's been elsewhere as a coach, which is the most important thing. He has connections around the league. He has built a culture before. He's been a head coach before. The Patriots always should have wanted Mike Vrabel. The story is the Patriots did enough to convince Mike Vrabel that he should want the Patriots. They must have paid him. They must have given him assurances in regards to control around here. That's the story. Your thoughts? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, multi-year. How many years? I need the details. I need to know what it is.
I would assume it's 5 years. Okay. Most of these coaches get 5-year deals. So, and this will not be a one-and-done situation. They will not be blowing him out after next year. We are live on YouTube as well. So you can find us there. We're here until 2 o'clock. And to you, 617-779-0985. Plenty to get to. Let's go to Al in Dorchester. What's up, Al?
Hey, Matt. Hey, Leroy. First of all, Happy New Year, even though it's 12 days in. Leroy, real quick, were you at Lucy's in Dorchester by chance?
Yes, I was.
I live literally right up the street from it. I saw it, and I was like, oh, man, I should have came down and said hi. But, no, Lucy's is a good spot. But anyways, the Mike Vrabel hiring, I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head. This was the hiring that should have happened, and this is coming from someone that wanted Ben Johnson because of the offensive scheming and everything. But you know what? At the end of the day, the culture is more important. They need a better culture in that locker room throughout that organization. And I just wanted your opinion on offensive coordinator. I know the name that's been thrown around, Josh McDaniels. I know old regime, old everything. But you know what? If he can get Mac Jones to a Pro Bowl and Cam Newton to 7 wins when his arm was basically toast, I think we have something. But that's all I got. Have a great Sunday, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. You have a thought on that?
I wouldn't be shocked if Josh McDaniels ends up being the offensive coordinator. Again, for the same reasons as Mike Vrabel. He's done the job before. Josh McDaniels has been excellent at being an offensive coordinator before. But then again, I really frowned upon this before, but now I'm starting to believe it. The fan base being familiar, getting butts in the seats. Hey, you got Vrabel. Oh, and you bring this guy back who helped one of our favorites, if not the greatest of all time, just take his whole game to another level. Oh, yeah, you're bringing him back? Oh, yeah, we'll be there. I think that's a huge factor. It shouldn't be, but the past few days have shown us all that how the fans feel is very important to the crafts. And Josh McDaniel is somebody who is excellent at his job as an offensive coordinator. You bring him back, it almost seems like a no-brainer, too.
The argument for McDaniels is he's not a flight risk. McDaniels is not going to go be a head coach somewhere. Mm-hmm. And we know that teams want offensive-minded head coaches. And Mike Vrabel has a good history of hiring head coaches. He hired LaFleur, and he hired Arthur Smith, both of whom went on to be head coaches. LaFleur's obviously had success. Smith, not so much. But I don't think I need to bring Josh McDaniels back. I trust Mike Vrabel to get that right because he has gotten it right. And this is where I welcome outside ideas and people who have not been here. You bring back McDaniels, fine. It's an upgrade over Alex Van Pelt. It's an upgrade over Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. I understand that. And the argument is he's not. I mean, nobody's ever going to want him to be a head coach again. I would have no problems if they went outside the organization for offensive coordinator. I think that'd be a good thing. I think it would be the healthy thing. You got to break that cycle somehow.
I hear you, but my argument would be this past season and last season, the chaos, we used the word earlier, it's been so toxic. Vrabel, and let's say a Josh McDaniels, if he were to come here, it brings some type of consistency. You know what I mean? You can trust that they're going to do at least a decent job. It doesn't mean they're going to be the greatest or get this team back to the playoffs or contending for a Super Bowl, but they'll do a job to stabilize things. And for the past 2 seasons and this last season, it just seems so chaotic. I think people would welcome it. I think the Crafts would welcome it. I think players would welcome it. And again, I think the fans would welcome it.
How about Brian in the car? Hey, Brian.
Hey, how are you guys?
What's up?
Good.
Hey, I'm actually kind of happy about this particular hire. I like Vrabel. I think he can be a great coach. He had success. He brought the Titans to the AFC Championship. He ultimately lost to Pat Mahomes. That's something, that's great success right there in itself. I'm a little bit, I'm not saying Ben Johnson isn't the guy. I think he's going to be a great coach. My only concern with Ben Johnson, and the reason why I wanted Vrabel over Ben Johnson, is he's a first-time head coach, and I didn't want to go back-to-back seasons with first-time head coach.
I think you're spot on with that, Brian. They needed somebody who's done it before.
Yeah.
And personally, I don't have as much of an infatuation with you have to have the offensive guy. I don't buy into that. You look at the 14 teams in the playoffs. 8 are offensive coaches, 6 are defensive coaches. So I think that's a little bit overrated, and I think it's been overrated for a long time. But if Mike Vrabel were an offensive guy and he had been a head coach before, I would have said, bring in Mike Vrabel. I don't care what side of the ball he's from. I care that he's done it before and he's had success.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Again, Matt, it sounds like you're talking about stability, and that's what I'm
like
saying.
stability. You like stability?
Who doesn't?
Stability's
Who doesn't?
nice.
I'm sitting here looking up at the TV, and they showed Vrabel with the red jacket on at Tom Brady's Hall of Fame thing. I'm like, man, they probably had discussions back then. Hey, listen, if it doesn't go great this season with Gerard, just keep your phone by you just in case.
He should have been the head coach last year. He should have been. He was available last year. And at least they understood they had to clean up that mess, but it was a mess. That was a bad mistake by the Crafts. This should have happened last year.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
617-779-0985. One open line. Grab it. We're live on YouTube as well. Thousands of people on YouTube, Leroy.
Wow.
You're looking good. You're looking sharp.
I'm trying. I got to start coming in here dressed to impress because I'm used to not having eyes on me because it's a radio show. But it's a new world.
There's nothing I can do to make myself look good, Leroy. There's nothing I can do, whether I dressed up today for the occasion or not. We got the news we wanted. Mike Vrabel, head coach of the New England Patriots. We continue your reaction all day long.
comes in. Do you think the NFL is happy about the announcement today during a playoff day?
Probably not, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Screw the NFL.
Yeah.
Let's get this taken care of. Let's get it out of the way. Let's move on. The future is brighter today, Leroy, than it was yesterday.
It is. I wrote this down because I'm probably going to say this numerous times. But Vrabel's hiring brings much-needed stability to an organization that has struggled with inconsistency in recent seasons. That's what it is. That's what it feels like. He still got to go out there, get his team together, and they still have to go out there and prove it and show us. But as of today, right now, 10:55, that's what it feels like, especially as a fan. It feels like we have some stability and we're heading in the right direction.
To you, all day long, 617-779-0985. Randy in Taunton. What's up, Randy?
Hey, gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, good. What's up?
Just want to say, okay, Vrabel, he's got the stability and he's got the proof that he can build a culture and a program. But I wanted kind of the Ben Johnson where you could get that dynamic offense, you could score at will. But now I'm interested to see what does Vrabel do with the front office. Is he keeping Elliott Wolf? I've heard rumors that Robert Saleh might be DC. I don't know. Let's see what happens. But thanks, guys, for taking my call. Appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend.
I paid attention to Felger and Maz this past week, and one of the things that Felger kept driving home was like, man, those guys are gone. They just don't worry about it. I know they're here right now, but they're gone. And I believe them too. And to me, I look at it like remodeling a house. The Patriots as an organization they were just in shambles. You've got to gut the whole thing before you can start remodeling. And they got the guy, they got Vrabel. That's step number one. But if you think any remnants of what's been there is going to stay as bad as it was, nah, you're crazy. I think they're going to clean house, and we'll start hearing announcements soon.
I need the reporting. I need it. I need it now. We've got the Vrabel news, which is what I wanted. This is the guy I wanted. Now I need the reporting that Elliott Wolf is out, or Elliott Wolf will have no control, or Elliott Wolf gets shipped off to Siberia. I don't care what happens. Elliott Wolf needs to be done. Justin in Lynn. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Matt. I have a thought. I love the hire of Mike Vrabel. I think Elliott Wolf needs to be gone, and I think the reconstruction of the roster needs to be made as well. I think the roster needs to be reconstructed as well because they didn't have enough talent on this team this year.
Nope, and that was Elliott Wolf's fault.
Yeah,
and he has skated so far.
Yeah,
gotta go.
The call is absolutely right. Let's not forget the talent on this team is god awful.
The number one problem.
And that's the number one problem.
It wasn't coaching.
Yeah.
And Gerard Mayo needed to go, and one of the many reasons he needed to go was Mike Vrabel was available. Mm-hmm. This is a significant coaching upgrade. But the reason the Patriots were 4-13 was not Gerard Mayo.
Yeah.
He didn't help. But the reason they were 4-13 again was the roster. Mm-hmm. The roster stinks.
And again, if you want to improve the roster, obviously they do. They want to improve it. You got to have some stability, and you got to have it now. Announcement was made. It's cool. It looks like we're heading in the right direction. But like everyone's saying, and we're saying, talent is an issue. Let's not forget that. But it's okay to celebrate this move today.
Let's go to Jordan in New Bedford. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, how you doing, guys? So Teddy Bruschi just said on NFL Countdown that Vrabel is the coach who has the ability to make his voice heard, similar to what was happening during Bill's tenure. And with a successful quarterback and an enormous amount of cap space, how much control do you think Vrabel will actually have? And do you think we're returning to an era where the head coach will be in a prime position to make the majority of the decisions while maintaining a working relationship with the front office?
Well, to me, if one of the lessons that ownership should have learned, especially this past season, is that, it might be time to get out the way. Get out the way. Hire people that you have full confidence in to do their job and let them do their job. Again, Monday, when Kraft says it's all my fault and I feel bad basically for the position that he put Gerard Mayo in, he's admitting that I shouldn't have done that. So I hope the lesson is, all right, let me slow down, hire people who have the experience, know what they're doing. And then the other part is once they're in those positions, get out of the way. You're not going to get out of the way 100%. You are the owner, so you have a right to be involved. But trust that the people that you've hired to do a job can do their job. Move. Let them work.
You need a real hierarchy. And the Patriots did not have a real hierarchy this past year. They cut Belichick out of the situation. They wanted a more collaborative approach, but they went too far in the other direction.
Yeah.
Who's in charge here? It's a question I was asking all year long. At a million different points throughout the year. Drake May versus Jacoby Brissett. Who's in charge here? Well, who's in charge of the 53-man roster? Is it Elliott Wolf? Is it Gerard Mayo? Does Gerard Mayo have the authority to pick Drake May over Jacoby Brissett? Is that Alex Van Pelt's role? Who's Elliott Wolf reporting to? Was it really Elliott Wolf's pick, or was it Jonathan Kraft's pick, or Robin Glazer's pick? Who's in charge here?
Yeah.
And what I hope the Mike Vrabel hiring represents, and I need reporting on this, I beg of you, Reese Callahan, please, I beg of you, find out and please report on, if you can, whether Mike Vrabel is essentially the primary decision maker in the organization. I think the best way it works in football is you have a head coach, and in the end, he's the person who has final say. He, in some ways, is higher on the org chart than the general manager. You want to have your head coach handpick the GM and have him bring that guy in. That, to me, is the healthiest situation right now.
I don't think he would even have agreed to come here if that wasn't the case.
I have to imagine that's the case, Leroy, because if I were Mike Vrabel and the Krafts were saying to me, well, no, Elliott Wolf and Alonzo Highsmith are still going to have a lot to say here, I would say, that's great. I'm going to go to the Raiders. Yeah. Bye. Yeah. See you later, because I'm not coming here. Well, you're going to have to answer to Robin Glazer. Robin's going to be in the room with you when you're negotiating contract. Out.
Yeah.
That's that. If I'm Mike Vrabel, I want nothing to do with that. And this, to me, indicates that he's going to have control.
Oh, yeah.
He should want control, and they should have given it to him.
Let's say that conversation did happen in the room. I could see Vrabel saying, listen, this is how you guys have been operating for quite a few seasons now, and what are the results? Look at this past season. It's been a pure mess. 4-13 for 2 seasons in a row, and you're going to sit here and try to tell me? There's no way that happened. I refuse to believe it. They had to have said, listen, here are the keys. Obviously, yes, we're going to check in with each other. We're going to do things a little bit different. But for the most part, you do what you want to do. We believe in you. We trust you. And that's why we're hiring you. And as a person, it doesn't matter what job you have, okay? It would be extremely frustrating, Matt, to be here and to have, I'm talking about in Sports Hub, talking sports, and to have management hovering in the halls and coming in the door every few minutes saying, I try to do this, do that. I don't like this, switch that.
One of the best things we have here. Nobody does that.
Exactly. And part of the reason why is because they trust you to do your job.
Maybe they shouldn't,
No, they should. They trust you to do your job. Nobody likes working a job where management is always constantly hovering over you and second-guessing you. And football, it's no different. There's no way Mike Vrabel agrees to become the head coach if they're going to be like that. He has the keys. Trust me.
90 seconds, no commercials. Quick update here from Leroy. Alex Barth will join the program at some point in the 11 o'clock hour. We're live on YouTube. Jared Stillman, who is the afternoon host at 102.5 The Game in Nashville, is going to join us in the 1 o'clock hour to give us a Titans perspective on Mike Vrabel. Jared's great. He's tremendous. He'll be able to really break down how they feel about Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, because there is that side of it too. Leroy, I mean, there is no such thing as a perfect head coaching candidate.
Right.
I think Vrabel's the guy for the job. I think you feel the same way. I think a lot of Patriots fans feel the same way. That doesn't mean that everything was perfect in Tennessee.
Absolutely.
He got fired in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. He was available. There is no such thing as a perfect head coaching candidate. We'll do it all until 2 o'clock today. Live all day. No commercials, quick update, then right back to you.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, this is Boston's home for sports.
No. Zaka cross, they scored. Porzingis, point a shot, rebound, score.
WBZFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
All right, we've been talking about it for about the past hour. It has been reported that Mike Vrabel will be the New England Patriots' next head coach after agreeing to a multi-year contract. Make sure you call us up and tell us your thoughts. 617-779-0985. Moving on, the NFL wildcard round is here, and last night the Texans took care of the Chargers 32-12. C.J. Stroud threw for 282 yards and a touchdown. Running back Joe Mixon ran for 106 yards and a touchdown. Nico Collins made 7 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown, and the Texans defense picked off Justin Herbert 4 times. Moving on, it was Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens over the Steelers, 28-14. Ravens running back Derrick Henry ran for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. As a team, the Ravens were 1 yard shy of 300 yards on the ground. Today, the Broncos and Bills at 1, Packers and Eagles at 4:30, Commanders and Bucks at 8, and then the Vikings and Rams tomorrow night at 8. Moving on, the Bruins 6-game losing streak is over after tiptoeing by the Florida Panthers in overtime 4-3. The Bees are off until Tuesday when they'll take on the Lightning at the Garden. College basketball, Cooper Flagg scored an ACC freshman record 42 points to lead Duke over Notre Dame 86-78. Boston College lost to Syracuse 79-71. The Boston College women's basketball team will take on number 19 UNC at 2. And the Celtics are back in action tonight at the Garden when they take on the Pelicans. Tip off at 6. Zion Williamson should be playing tonight for the Pelicans after serving a 1-game suspension after being late for a flight. Your Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Weight loss week? Check. Weight loss every week until reaching your goal? Check, check. Real results, fast results, lasting results. Awaken180weightloss.com. I'm Leroy Irvin. Your next update is in an hour.
Boston plays here.
Through the slot. Close shot. Save. Rebound. Scored.
98.5, the Sports Hub. In this town, sports happen.
For granted. I've been a lot of places. This is a special place with great leadership, great fans, great direction, great coaching. Enjoy it. It's not like this everywhere. Thank you very much.
That was Mike Vrabel at his Hall of Fame induction a few years ago. And by the way, those comments did not go over well in Nashville.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I would have been upset too if I'm part of the Titans organization or a fan. Would have had me tight.
He wanted to be back here. Tom Pelissero reporting today on NFL Network. The Raiders never interviewed Mike Vrabel because Vrabel told Tom Brady, quote, "I'm going to end up back in New England," unquote.
Wow.
It was a bag job. And it means, to your point, Leroy, that Mike Vrabel is comfortable enough with his role here. Who's in charge here? I have to imagine this means he's in charge here.
Yeah.
And they got the money done.
The Crafts, the organization, they aren't in a position to even try to suggest.
Agreed.
Hey, we want to be involved here. No. 4-13, 2 seasons in a row. No, you can't do that.
To you, 617-779-0985. Justin in Saugus. Hey, Justin.
Hey, guys, real quick. I was one of the originals last season calling with the Mike Vrabel take. I called Felger and Nash, called Joe Murray's show. I was kind of scoffed at a bit. So I'm obviously really excited about the hiring. Well, and while I'm excited that the Crafts finally did the right thing here, I still feel pretty frustrated that the hire didn't come a year ago. He was there for the taking, and I feel like we could have been in such a better position had he taken over this. As for Wolf, guy's a complete bum, needs to go or be Vrabel's official gopher guy. He can do the coffee runs or whatever. I don't care. Otherwise, get him the hell out of here.
Thanks, Justin.
I think what happened is, and obviously I do not know Robert Kraft. I don't know. I used to work for him, though, but I don't know him.
Team Ops.
His name was on my check. So I used to work for Robert Kraft. But anyways, Robert Kraft to me comes off as a very emotional guy. A very sensitive guy. And this is not to knock him. That's a beautiful thing. And I think he made the decision about Gerard Mayo with his emotions, with his feelings. And that's great. But it was the wrong decision. And I think what's happening now is he's kind of checking that. Again, this is just my theory, just my thoughts. I do not know Robert Kraft. But I think he's checked himself. I think Jonathan has been in his ear a little bit more and given him more of a stern outlook on things and how to approach things. And basically probably whispered in his ears the few times we saw them on TV and they would go up to the box and show them during the game. We need stability. We can't make decisions based on our emotions. Nobody should make emotional decisions. We really have to look at everything. At the end of the day, the facts are we are 4-13. We were 4-13 last season. There seems to be chaos. There seems to be it seems to be toxic. We have to find our ground, get some stability, and Mike Vrabel, whether you like him or not, that's a sign of heading in the right direction and finding some ground. Now, again, said this earlier, they're going to have to prove it. There's still football to be played. But as of today, it feels like the right decision.
So you're right when you say there was an emotional component for Kraft with Gerard Mayo. Mm-hmm. There was also a financial component.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he put it down on paper that Mayo was going to be his next head coach and would have had to pay him to go away.
Right.
And that's the reason. It would have been a bad look if you paid him to go away. And it's like, oh, you believed in him, but now you don't. That would have been a bad look for the Patriots. But as a result, they wasted a year. And I will give them some credit on this, though. They didn't double down on it. They didn't compound their mistake. It was a mistake. Mm-hmm. Mike Vrabel should have been the head coach last year. The second he was fired in Tennessee, this should have been the guy they went out and got. Mm-hmm. And they didn't. But they didn't double down on it. And they realized they had an opportunity to fix that mistake. This is the first step towards fixing that mistake. Let's go to Karen in New York. Hey, Karen.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Good.
So I really want Robert Saleh as DC. I think he's a defensive genius. But I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on dipping into college for the coordinators. Like, Jesse Minter went to Ravens, and their defense was number one. Joe Brady came from LSU to Buffalo and changed their offense. So what do you guys think about dipping down to college to find some younger talent trying to prove themselves?
I'm not concerned about the defensive side of the ball. Vrabel comes from the defensive side of the ball. I'm more interested in who the offensive coordinator is.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I mean, Vrabel could call plays, or I don't care who he brings in as his defensive coordinator. Kind of the same way I didn't really care who the Patriots brought in as DC last year, because I thought, well, I mean, at least your head coach is defensive. Now, that blew up in their face because DeMarcus Covington wasn't cut out for it. So long as it's not DeMarcus Covington, I'm good with that. I care more about who the OC is. You have a thought on the college thing, though?
I do. I hope that they do they take an honest look at college coaches and coordinators. And Mike Vrabel is absolutely a part of that, and he's making the decision. However, I still believe that the fans' reaction, for whatever reason, is extremely important to the Crafts, and that might be a reason why I'm not going to say they would say, no, don't look at college, but they were encouraged to kind of stay away from that because you can see from the results. I can't see the phone. I haven't been on social media, but I'm willing to bet Patriots Nation is going off. They are celebrating. They are happy, and they are saying, yes, we're going in the right direction. Right or wrong, it's because Mike Vrabel is familiar. Josh McDaniels, if he ends up here, it's because he would be a familiar face. A defensive coordinator might have to be a familiar name. I don't know about a face, but but more so a familiar name. And going and dipping into college kind of doesn't do that.
Yeah, I want somebody who's been in the NFL.
See, that's what
that is my preference. But I don't care what side of the ball the head coach is from. I think it's overblown. I think it's overrated, especially given the situation the Patriots are in right now.
Even though what we just saw?
You need somebody who's been there and done that before.
Yeah, true.
That's the spot they're in. Mm-hmm. If it were a year ago, okay, yeah, maybe Ben Johnson, maybe the young hotshot offensive mind, and you hope you find the next Kevin O'Connell or Sean McVay. But I still think that thing is overrated. You can win just as much in the NFL with a defensive-minded head coach.
So basically what you're saying, and I think I agree, we are so jaded by coaches without experience this past season.
You should be.
You should be, and that's why I said I understand that bringing in anybody from anywhere without experience is it's a no-go.
Would you bring it? Let's say John Harbaugh got fired and it wouldn't happen. Would you bring him in? He's a special teams guy. Would you bring him in? Doesn't matter. He's not an offensive genius.
Right.
Does not matter. That thing is so overblown and so overrated. 14 playoff teams, 8 guys on the offensive side of the ball, 6 guys on the defensive side of the ball. It's so overrated. It's more than that. 617-779-0985, at least in my opinion. Tom and Quincy, what's up, Tom?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, I was happy to hear that they got Vrabel locked down because, I can overreact with the best of them. Like the other day when he left Foxborough with no deal, I got a little nervous because I thought that, you dangle him out there, you let him go, and then you see these teams swoop in. And I thought Brady would be the one out of anyone that would make that move and be like, get Vrabel to Vegas. Tough sell, Vegas, but, whatever. Vrabel's here. Blow Wolf the F out of here. He should be gone already. And if the Red Sox could announce that they signed someone good, that would make for a nice little Sunday.
I wouldn't hate it, Tom. Wouldn't hate it.
The whole thing, like he said, he was nervous when they let Vrabel, walk or leave here without a contract. It was all optics, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, and let's be honest, folks, firing Gerard Mayo 90 minutes after the game was not a good look. And then you have the whole Rooney rules, and you have that whole everyone's watching intensely. And to announce or to have announced that Vrabel was the coach a day ago or 2 days ago wouldn't be a good look. I'm sure there are people who are saying them announcing it today isn't a good look, but at least it wasn't then. The optics are very, very important.
They had to get their man. It was Vrabel or bust, the way they approached this thing. And Ben Johnson, as Mike Giardi reported, was nothing more than a fallback. But this was going to be their guy all along. You fire Gerard Mayo 90 minutes after the season ends. You do a couple of sham interviews on Tuesday to satisfy the Rooney rule. If they did not end up with Mike Vrabel, that would have been a disaster. The Patriots got their man. And in my opinion, they got the right guy for the job. What do you think? 617-779-0985. We roll on. McCarthy, Leroy, here on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Start your wellness journey at Whole Foods Market. Save 33% on all supplements with Prime through January 14th. Build the perfect
was. It's because of the coach he's become. Last year in Cleveland, for example, he's in the offensive line room. He's in the tight ends room. He's working in the front office. In Tennessee, he won the third highest percentage of games of any head coach when he was an underdog. That's a team that punched above its weight without a great roster, certainly without a great quarterback. He's been a head coach before, or he just had a winning record. Like, to me, I understand the longer we wait, people fill time either on the hub or in the paper like me and kind of outthink themselves. He's the best candidate. He's the best candidate for this job where the Patriots need culture and discipline and experience. And he also hires offensive coordinators. So, yeah, ideally you would love Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel to share a brain, to have the same mind viruses. But ultimately, Vrabel's a better candidate, in my opinion, and it's not to do with the defensive versus offensive stuff. It's just who he is and who he's always been.
That was Andrew Callahan this morning on the Sunday kickoff with Alex Barth and Matt Doloff. And because Alex Barth never leaves the building, do you sleep here? We need to pot Barth's mic up. No comment,
no
you said?
Comment.
You're still in the building. We said we have to bring Barth in.
I am still here.
You just released a piece on 98.5thesportshub.com on offensive coordinator candidates for Mike Vrabel.
Nice.
You are obviously one of the go-to football people in this market, Barth. So we go to you on this. Is Mike Vrabel the right hire? Yes or no? Did the Patriots get this right?
They got it right. They got it right for a lot of the reasons Andrew just said. They don't just need an offensive mastermind. That would be great. And they can still get that guy, as I wrote about. Again, you can read on 98.5thesportshub.com. This doesn't preclude them from getting a good offensive coach or coaches in the building. But they needed somebody to reset the program. And when I say program, what I'm talking about, and this is going to be a very popular word over the next week or so in this context, the program is, what are you doing Monday to Saturday to get ready for Sunday? What are you doing January to July to get ready for August to December? What are you doing January to April to get ready for the draft, right? And the idea is if you have a strong program, and it takes multiple years to build this, they can make steps this year. The stronger your program, the more almost turnkey it becomes. Among all the great things Bill Belichick did, you talk about the program he built in New England. And up until the very end there, it was a machine. They were churning out players. They were churning out coaches. One coach would leave, boom, somebody else steps up, right? It was just week to week. It's day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. What are the core philosophies, core concepts, core beliefs of your organization from the top down that you use to guide you? I don't even know if I want to say the Patriots had a bad program last year. I don't really know that they had a program at all. It didn't feel like there was any semblance of one. And when you don't have a program, you can, put your right tackle in motion and call all the double reverse wide receiver passes you want. It's not really going to matter because there's no substance. There's no foundation holding it all together. Would Ben Johnson have been a good hire? Yes. But he would not have been the best hire from the candidates available. That's Mike Vrabel. He certainly has his own ifs, but they needed somebody who can come in and establish a program. Mike Vrabel has proven he can do that. He did it in Tennessee, and now the hope is he can do it again here and do it quickly.
Leroy, I know you have an important question you want to ask. I just want to follow up real quick on something Barth just said. You have said for a long time, you're obviously a draft guy. You've said there's no such thing as a perfect draft candidate.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a perfect prospect.
Yeah.
I think the same thing could be said for head coaching candidates. There's
Absolutely.
no such thing as a perfect head coaching
The reality is if they are that good, they're not available.
Right. So why was Mike Vrabel available? And I would argue that I think Tennessee let him down, not Mike Vrabel let Tennessee down.
Look, you go back to the A.J. Brown trade, which by all reports Vrabel was not a fan of. That kicked off just a really ugly series of events there in Tennessee. People are still losing their jobs based off of it. At the end of the day, when you win 12 games, you go to the AFC Championship, and then 2 to 3 years later, you're under 500. It doesn't really matter the circumstances as the head coach that does fall back on you. And I think his front office put him in a bad situation.
Wow. So in order to create a great program, you got to have a group of people who are, intelligent, creative, tone setters. In your opinion, how soon do they start making changes in the front office and surrounding Mike Vrabel?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing about interviews. We've already kind of heard some of these names thrown out. Josh McDaniels is the big one everybody's heard for offensive coordinator. I know some people have kind of gone back to some of the people Vrabel worked with in Tennessee as ideas. They're going to have to go through the interview process, and after the heat they took with the head coaching search, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a little more thorough here. But I mean, I would think we start getting interviews this week, and maybe, I don't know how many people they plan on interviewing, but they're going to move quickly. Like Robert Kraft made that clear on Monday, that they want to get the pieces in place, because the real question here, and I heard you talking about this earlier, Matt, you're absolutely right. This is not the most consequential decision the Patriots will make this offseason. I don't even know that it's the biggest in terms of the make or break of the future of the organization. It's about the roster. They need more talent. Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, Bill Belichick, whoever is not going to have success with this roster. So you need the coaches and the front office personnel in place to start evaluating these players, coming up with a plan. So I think they're going to move pretty quick because they got to get to the roster part of this.
So Mike Vrabel, being the head coach of the New England Patriots, helps that process in what way?
So one, he has an expansive network. I know people have kind of looked at this and said, oh, another retread, another guy who's been here. He's here as a player. His coaching background is almost entirely independent of the Patriots, and this is kind of what I wrote about this morning, looking at all his stops as a player, as a coach. And again, he's done it before. He kind of knows from Tennessee, okay, this is what worked, this is what didn't, and it should allow him to go a little bit quicker, because ideally, I mean, I don't know for sure, but ideally, it's not going to be a feeling out process. There shouldn't be a learning curve like we talked about Gerard Mayo last year, for better or worse. This is a guy that has never been here. He's going to have to kind of learn on the job. Mike Vrabel's not learning on the job. Mike Vrabel already knows. He's done this before. He knows what he needs to do.
Should Mike Vrabel have personnel control?
I don't know. I mean, I need to see who the other candidates are. It's not something I'd be entirely opposed to. You're talking about final say, right?
Right, final say.
Yeah, he should absolutely have an input, a significant input on the personnel. I'd have to see who the other candidates are. I would lean no now. You know, if he brings in a GM and things get going, and maybe in a couple years it goes to him, kind of like it did with Bill, I don't think it's a never with him. I think the way he views the game could translate to a GM, but with all the work that needs to be done with this team, I think it would just help to have somebody else. It's a big thing. I don't say it to take it off his plate like it's a minor thing,
sure,
but having somebody, like, has he ever really negotiated a contract or, negotiated a trade in the draft, things like that? Having somebody who's done that, I think, would be very helpful.
So what you're saying is it's a better situation for Vrabel to bring in his own guy, right? Somebody that he's comfortable with, has worked with before. That is the best situation for the Patriots.
Yeah, or just somebody, I know, I think it's Borgonzi, right? Mike Borgonzi from the Chiefs is a name that's come up.
There's Everett guy, as we've heard.
Everett guy, right. I'm also...
yeah, they got Borgonzi.
Ryan Cowden, who's currently with the Giants, was with him for quite a bit in Tennessee. That's a name that's been thrown around. I'm not saying, like, keep it with Elliott Wolf because it will be too much for Mike Vrabel. It should go to somebody else, but that somebody else should not be in the building right now.
Just real quick, because I know we're up against it. You mentioned that the NFL... Let me back up. The show before, you were just doing it, and when you were heading out, I said, how much longer before, we hear something? Is Vrabel official or not? And you
the team tweeted it, so it's official at this point.
No. But then you said, I don't know. This is before the news came out. You said, I don't know. I don't think the NFL wants them to announce anything during the playoffs, during the actual game. It happens today. How do you think the NFL is feeling, and why would they be so anti making an announcement like this?
I mean, I don't think they want it like during a game because it's the game, it's their product. Like, that's what they want people focusing on. I think something like this, it's early enough. What was it, like 20 minutes after we got off the air, right? Like 10:19, 10:20. Yep. That's enough lead time for a 1 o'clock game. Obviously, we know that there was some heat externally about how the Patriots handled the search. Yeah. So I think it would more, be related to that. But at this point, the other thing is, like, this is going to supercharge it now because everybody was waiting on Mike Vrabel, right? He was the number one candidate available, I would say, over Ben Johnson league-wide, just from everything we heard out there in the public. So nobody was going to hire a coach. On the off chance something fell apart between the Patriots and Mike Vrabel, nobody was going to hire a coach until Vrabel got hired. We see this in free agency all the time. So now the league gets to kind of, they'll play the games today, and then this week gets to kickstart the hiring process.
Should they have just hired Vrabel last year? I mean, he was the number one candidate on the board. He probably would have been the number one candidate outside of Bill Belichick last year. I would certainly make that argument. The league doesn't want Bill for a million different reasons. But should they have just done this last year?
So Vrabel's at the top of my list last year. I don't know with the way the contract was with Gerard Mayo if they actually could have.
Well, they had the buyout. They could have paid him to go away.
Yeah, Vrabel would have been the best hire they could have made last year.
What about offensive coordinator?
So
you just wrote a whole piece on 98.5.
Yeah.
Leroy, if you want to read a piece with 17 million names.
It's a little dense. It's a little dense.
My
I think
God,
it's like
I'm
3,200 words.
I scrolled through this at the beginning of a segment being like, oh, I'll be able to reference some of Alex Barth's offensive coordinator candidates. Dude, the amount of bolded names. Downing was replaced by Tim Kelly, Ryan Tannehill, Will Levis at quarterback, Pat O'Hara. Like, who the hell is this? Charles London, Luke Steckel, Justin.
Luke Steckel is a real. I'm actually kind of excited about Luke Steckel. Luke Steckel is a good name to know, and I explained why in there. I told you, I went through his whole all I heard all week was not another Patriots guy, not another Belichick guy, and that kind of we posted the clip on the station accounts from earlier this week of me kind of pushing back on that, but I was still getting kind of fed up with it. So I was like, all right, let me show you guys just how many non-Patriots coaches he's connected to. So, no, when it comes, some of that, too, wasn't just...
Ken Dorsey, Deuce Staley, Chad O'Shea, Bill Musgrave. My God, you just name a million guys in this thing. Luke Fickell, Mike Denbrock.
No, okay, so to be clear, not
Nick
some
Cayley,
of these...
Clint Kubiak, T. Martin, Tanner Engstrand. I'm just going through the bolded names in this thing.
These are not all... Let me be clear. These are not all offensive coordinator candidates. Some of these names are referenced for just for reference points.
This is the Encyclopedia Britannica, Barth.
So,
Jesus.
Okay, let me give you part of the reason this is so expansive. And I think this is the big if when it comes to Mike Vrabel and people talk about this. Who is going to run the offense and what happens if that guy leaves? You want to keep continuity. You don't want another situation like 2022 where Josh McDaniels leaves and you have to have a defensive coach on the offensive side of things. It's not just about hiring the offensive coordinator. Mike Vrabel, and this goes to program building, needs to build a pipeline. I don't just want to know who the offensive coordinator is. Who is the guy that if the offensive coordinator gets hired away, there should be like one or two guys that are clear cut next. Maybe you make like a run game coordinator and a pass game coordinator, right, on top of the position coaches. So that's where Luke Steckel comes into me. He's coached multiple positions. He was with Vrabel in Tennessee. This year he was with the Raiders. He was their tight ends coach, Brock Bowers. Hello. He's coached tight ends, coached other positions. You make him like a run game coordinator and your tight ends coach. That's a guy that now has a pipeline or a resume that looks like an offensive coordinator, an up-and-coming offensive coordinator. So it's not just about getting the OC to me for Vrabel. It's about building that staff out in full. So, okay, let's say Tommy Rees, who he was with in Cleveland. Tommy Rees is your offensive coordinator. He gets hired as a head coach in 2 years. Boom, seamless, Luke Steckel, promotion. You don't have to deal with too much turnover.
Can you stick around for one more segment?
Yeah.
You got time?
Yeah.
Because we need to get more into the Elliott Wolf situation and the front office. Also, somebody has floated out a defensive coordinator candidate on Twitter that I want to get your thoughts on because it feels informed to me. 617-779-0985. Alex Barth sticking around. Leroy's here. McCarthy and you. The Patriots hire Mike Vrabel. We continue on the Sports Hub. so much rather live in 2003.
I'm looking forward to
every
the
sense.
future. That's what I'm doing.
Mike Vrabel is your future. Leroy, McCarthy, Alex Barth is here. Is Mike Vrabel the right coach for Drake May, Alex?
I can't say definitively yes, just because Ben Johnson, like if you were looking at this solely through Drake May and ignoring the rest of the organization, which I think a lot of people were doing, Ben Johnson's the right hire, like the best hire. But Mike Vrabel has a very strong track record of hiring offensive coordinators. LaFleur obviously has done a great job in Chicago. Arthur Smith, I know he had a rough night last night, but has been a pretty good offensive coordinator, all things considered, throughout his career. Tim Kelly's fine, and I'm blanking on the name of the guy he had in Tennessee. He's 3 for 4, basically hiring offensive coordinators. So if he can get the right offensive coordinator with Drake May, then yeah, he's done his job in that regard.
Is McDaniels that guy? You want McDaniels back?
I'm not anti-McDaniels. He's not my favorite choice. I'd kind of like to see them go with somebody, a little more up and coming, try to find their own kind of Ben Johnson, right? Can they find the offense coordinator who in 2 or 3 years will be the big name hire? I look at Tommy Rees would certainly be a guy that qualifies as that. Can they get, could you maybe hold Josh McCown away from Minnesota, giving him an opportunity to work with Drake May again? But, McDaniels, he's reliable. He's steady. And we've seen the big concern with him is what can he do with Drake May? We've seen him with Brady and Mac Jones and this kind of offense. We do have the 1 year with Cam Newton. It's really not a super significant sample size, but he was able to build in a quarterback run game. There needs to be more done with it beyond what they did with Cam Newton. Some of that's personnel. Some of that is they only had so much time to install things that year. It was the COVID season. Cam got here late, all of that. There's been some kind of examples of him going to different colleges. He's at Ohio State. He was at USC. I think there's a few other in taking in practices. How much did he get from that? Has that kind of reshaped his view? So I don't think he's a bad choice. I think there's better choices, but especially if he kind of comes in with a refreshed view on what you can do with a mobile quarterback, then look, we know he's good with quarterbacks. We know he's steady. You know what you're getting. I think it's an offense that, look, to get an offense like the Lions had, right? To just bring that personnel here would have taken a long time. I think with McDaniel's offense, there's still significant moves that need to be made, but I don't know that the grocery list is quite as long, right? To get McDaniel's offense in place, I think would probably be a quicker setup.
Wow. Well, it seems like, and again, I haven't been on social media, but I imagine Patriot Nation is just out there celebrating this move and everything. Okay, I get it, but do you anticipate any issues stemming from the hiring process? Vrabel, again, seems to be the right guy, but there's been a lot of discussion about the process lacking transparency.
Yeah, well, look, Robert Kraft said that they were going to talk to a number of people, and then they end up requesting 5 interviews, making 4. That certainly doesn't square. They kind of just blew through the Rooney Rule, which understandably rubbed people the wrong way. I do think, especially if it does, look, this is a winning cures all thing. If Vrabel's good and they're rolling, I don't think you'll hear too much about the process. If it starts off slow, especially if Ben Johnson goes wherever he goes and has some success, those questions are going to get really, really loud. So it's really on Vrabel to kind of keep that off the table. But I do also think you'll see them be a little more expansive with these subsequent hires, coordinators, front office personnel, things like that, as they should be. I think with the head coach, look, they didn't treat the Rooney Rule the right way, obviously, but it was pretty clear from the beginning, the top team in terms of the coach hiring process. I didn't need them to do what the Jets are doing and talk to 30 guys. They were going to hire one of Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Brian Flores, or Aaron Glenn. Those are the top candidates. I didn't really need them to go beyond those 4. Should they have maybe been a little more thorough with some of the other ones besides Vrabel? Maybe, but I didn't need I didn't need them to cast a wide net, because a lot of those guys are backup candidates for other teams. Are going to lose out on Vrabel and Johnson. When you get to the coordinators, everybody should be itching to work with Drake May. And there's so many different ways this offense could go. I'd like to see him go out and kind of hear some more ideas on how the offense could go.
I'm trying to get a better understanding of how much impact Mike Vrabel's going to have. This might be hard to answer, but
yeah,
talent is an issue.
Yeah,
we know that they're going to have to do what they got to do on that end. But if Vrabel was the coach of this past season's team, what do you think their record would have been?
So I don't think Vrabel. I think Vrabel would have been more forceful about getting more talent in. So that's where it kind of gets weird.
Okay.
Probably a couple more wins. I don't think we would have been talking playoffs or anything. I think the season's still probably over around Thanksgiving like that. But, his game management's better than Mayo's, and they lost a couple games that way. So 5 or 6 maybe is their ceiling with Vrabel as opposed to Mayo. But talent is still the chief issue.
One more question. I got so many questions. Multi-year contract. Do you have any idea what that might be?
For Vrabel?
Yes.
It's got to be 5, right?
I would think
standard.
4 or 5. Yeah, is usually the standard. Maybe there's like an option in there. I don't know, but
this is the guy. This is their guy. That's pretty obvious,
right? This is not bring in for a couple of years and see how it goes. No. And I heard you saying earlier, like you one and done 2 coaches in a row.
No, it's not going to happen.
Good luck. So no, they had to commit to him, and it would make sense that they committed to him significantly long term.
Real quick, defensive coordinator. We haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah,
Jimmy Stewart. Okay. When Jimmy Stewart starts tweeting stuff out, I generally pay attention. Stu, a few minutes ago, says, I wonder if Jim Schwartz is in play as DC or senior defensive assistant for the Patriots under new head coach Mike Vrabel. Jim Schwartz. Thoughts?
He's a fine defensive coordinator. I like the idea of Patrick Graham. He'd probably be at top of my list. It's funny. I was looking so much at defensive coordinators for Ben Johnson because it was like, who's going to be his Wade Phillips for Sean McVay? So I was going through guys like John Fox, Ron Rivera. Yeah. I would honestly try to go get like an up-and-comer to work under Vrabel.
Well, right, because, he is... I know he's done a lot. He's worked with tight ends and offensive line and, front office, but he was a DC in Houston. He's a guy from the defensive side of the ball. Defensive coordinator doesn't matter as much as offensive coordinator.
So this was one of the issues I had with Gerard Mayo's setup, and I think it's part of the reason it didn't work. You promoted Gerard Mayo in theory because of the job he did defensively, right? But he didn't work with the defense. We didn't see him like you see Bill Belichick right in the huddle with the defense. You saw DeMeco Ryans last night coaching up players on the sideline. I want this to be Mike Vrabel's defense. I want Mike Vrabel, play-to-play involved in the ins and outs of this defense. So there'll be a defensive coordinator. Maybe he doesn't outright call it. Maybe he lets somebody else calls the plays and he just kind of chips in big moments. But I want it to be his. I like the defense he runs. I like the defense they ran in Tennessee. I like the defense they ran in Houston. I think going to Cleveland this year and working more on the offensive side of the ball is very educational and very helpful from being a head coach. But you don't want him to pull too far away from why he's here, right? So Jim Schwartz could work. Honestly, I really hadn't spent a ton of time thinking about. I could do another 3,300 words on defensive coaches, I guess, because I spent all the time on that offensive side of the ball. But I'm not as concerned because I want it to be Mike Vrabel's defense. It should be Mike Vrabel's defense.
Real quick, so we had a caller call in earlier and mention possibly the Patriots tapping into coaches within the college ranks. How do you feel about that?
So I don't like it for head coaches. I'm very anti that for head coaches. It has a horrible track record.
Coordinators,
I don't hate it. I had a couple guys on my list. Charlie Wise Jr. was one. Mike Denbrock at Notre Dame was another. It's an interesting way to go. There's certainly an adjustment that comes with it, but I would, especially on offense, at least get some offensive coaches in and interview them. Now, Tommy Rees is kind of the best of both worlds because he was the OC at Notre Dame and Alabama for, I think, 5 or 6 years between the two, and then went to Cleveland last year, and that was really his first NFL job. So if you want that college impact, but with a guy that has experience doing it at the NFL level, like Tommy Rees is kind of the perfect balance.
Great stuff, Barth.
Thank you.
Check out your work, 985thesportshub.com. What do you have up there now? We've talked about your offensive coordinator piece, naming literally every coach in the National Football League, maybe even guys who aren't in the National Football League.
There are some who are not in the National Football League currently on there.
If you want names, check that thing out. What can people look out for over the next couple of days, your coverage at thesportshub.com?
And we'll just be keeping you updated as they interview people, as they bring people in for different positions. I'll have a podcast in that Dolph tomorrow, too. We'll kind of react to this more. So, something like this, all right, he's hired, so much is going to change in the next 24, 48 hours. Just kind of roll with the punches and then see what it looks like at the end and then react big picture from there.
Good stuff. All right, back to you. One open phone line. You've been patient. Thank you. 617-779-0985. Matt McCarthy and Leroy Irvin here on the Sports Hub.
Season begins. Rex, what's your reaction?
Hey, man, I mean, hopefully I get to kick this guy's ass twice a year. I don't know what you're talking about. Just kidding.
Them Jets, huh?
I'm just kidding, buddy.
Maybe your team.
Yeah, not my team, yes, but not me personally.
Mike Vrabel is.
How can you not feel good about the Mike Vrabel hire? You hired Mike Vrabel, and the Jets are out there interviewing everybody under the sun, including Rex Ryan. It's a good day to be a Patriots fan. When was the last time you could say that, Leroy?
I know. Isn't that crazy? It's been a minute, but it is a good day. It feels good. You know, you might if somebody was to criticize ownership for how they've handled things recently, I wouldn't argue with them on that. I'd be like, you know what? You have the right to be a little bit upset with how things have gone. But you also have to give ownership credit for the urgency. 90 minutes after a game, yeah, it may not have been right, but at the end of the day, if you could put that to the side, they showed some urgency. And then announcing the hiring of Mike Vrabel today. You might not agree with the process. It might be scrutinized for weeks and months to come. But at the end of the day, the urgency is there. And for me, I'm just removing myself, and I'm just going to talk strictly as a fan. I'm like, well, good. It shows that they're trying to get back to being some sort of contender. They're sick of losing. They're sick of having an empty stadium. There's urgency there to get back to the top. And if you're a Patriots fan, you can't help but salute that.
How about John in Scituate? Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Hey, I just wanted to ask a couple things, if you could just talk about them after I hang up. One is I think Antonio Gibson should have got more touches this year, and I feel like if we cut Ramondre, it wouldn't hurt us. I mean, from his fumbles in this year, we signed him like 3 years and like a $38 million crazy contract, I think. And then one other thing would be I think we got to let Kendrick Bourne go just to
we're going to talk about Mike Vrabel today.
I know. I was about to say, I don't.
We can do that in April, if you ask me, John. Kyle in New Hampshire. Hey, Kyle.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
Good morning.
So I've remained adamant ever since they were looking for a coach last year that Vrabel was the guy. And, hearing after Mayo got canned that they'd be pursuing him, I knew they were making a good choice. So I'm definitely excited about this. Part of me was interested to see what Ben Johnson could have done with Drake since he's our franchise guy, but it's obvious now that Johnson was just a fallback option. Regardless, Mike's a proven coach. He's going to change the culture for the better. Just got to, wait and see his choices for staff. Hopefully they can bring in some good players in free agency. And then there's the drafts coming up. Got lots of holes, and they need the right people to fill them. Ted McMillan's a name that jumps out at me for receiver, and then we got Banks and Campbell as good tackle options. So, yeah, lots of choices to me, babe. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
So the question is Mike Vrabel the right choice for Drake May? I think he's the right choice for the organization as a whole.
Yeah.
Is he the right choice for Drake May?
Well, if it's about stability and we're trusting his leadership ability, then part of being a leader is being able to pick an offensive coordinator who is going to help Drake May develop. And so you have to trust that. You really have to trust that. Something he said, it reminded me, Matt, I don't have access. I don't get to go down and be part of press conferences. And
would you want to?
I mean, I think I would. I really would.
We should send you down there. We can get you a media pass.
You know what? I've sent media. I've sent in for media passes for numerous teams in this region,
and they've all said no.
They've said nothing. Nothing.
Are you emailing the right people?
I'm emailing the right people.
Stacy, can we get this man a media pass? Send him down there tomorrow.
They said nothing. However, off of what the caller said, I'm begging any reporter, any journalist, when they have the press conference, please ask the Crafts why this season and not last season for Mike Vrabel. What happened? I'm begging you to ask that question.
Let's get you the pass, and you can ask it.
I would ask it, but I don't know what's going on. But
they're going to have a press conference tomorrow. We can get you there. I feel like we can get you there.
I hope so. If I'm not able to go, whoever's going, I'm begging you. Ask the questions that we want answers to. Numerous people have called in. We said it ourselves. If Vrabel was available last season, why not put him in the position of head coach last season? What happened? And, just what happened?
Money.
I need answers.
Money. It's that simple.
But
they would have had to pay Gerard Mayo to go away.
Will they say that?
No, of course they're not going to say that. They were asked about, spending and cap space last week, and Robert said, well, we always spend the cap. You're $40 billion under the cap. No, they're not going to admit to it, but the truth is the truth. They agreed to they put it down on paper. Gerard Mayo was going to be the next head coach. They did it. That was a mistake, but they could have gotten out with it, but it would have been a bad look, and they would have had to pay him to go away. So we wasted a year. They got the guy they should have hired last year. You just had to suffer through another 4-13 football season.
Wow.
Wasn't great. 90 seconds, no commercials. One open phone line. Grab it. Back to you next. 617-779-0985. Plus statistics that I have for you, Leroy.
Uh-oh.
You know me, I'm Mr. Stats over here.
Okay.
I always reference numbers.
Wait, is that different than Mr. Analytics?
Oh, God, that's even worse.
Okay.
I feel like analytics are beyond statistics.
Okay.
I somehow passed statistics to get my television radio degree. For whatever reason, I needed to take one math class, and trust me, I went to stats. I could apply it to sports somehow. But no, not Mr. Like I shove numbers down your. This is not the Nick Cattle show. I don't give you numbers to give you my argument. I just give you my argument. But I have numbers for you. Why Mike Vrabel is not a problem for Drake May.
Okay. Oh, I like that.
And I found a number to make my argument.
Okay.
So I'll make it.
Let's do it.
After a quick update from Leroy, no commercials.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, this is Boston's home for sports.
Zaka cross, they scored. Porzingis, point a shot, rebound, score.
WBZFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
All right. It's been reported that Mike Vrabel will be the New England Patriots' next head coach after agreeing to a multi-year contract. Multi-year. I want the details. Anyway, celebrate Patriots Nation. There's a lot of people out there extremely happy. The NFL wild card round is here, and last night the Texans took care of the Chargers 32-12. C.J. Stroud threw for 282 yards and a touchdown. Running back Joe Mixon ran for 106 yards and a touchdown. Nick Collins made 7 catches for 122 yards and a tug. And the Texans defense picked off Justin Herbert 4 times. Moving on, it was Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens over the Steelers 28-14. Ravens running back Derrick Henry ran for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. As a team, the Ravens were 1 yard shy of 300 yards rushing. Today, the Broncos and Bills at 1, Packers and Eagles at 4:30, Commanders, Bucks at 8, Vikings and Rams tomorrow night at 8. Moving on, the Bruins' 6-game losing streak is over after tiptoeing by the Florida Panthers in overtime 4-3. The Bees are off until Tuesday when they'll take on the Lightning at the Garden. College basketball, Cooper Flagg scored an ACC freshman record 42 points to lead Duke over Notre Dame 86-78. Boston College lost to Syracuse 79-71. The Boston College women's basketball team will take on number 19 UNC at 2. And the Celtics are back in action tonight at the Garden when they take on the Pelicans. Tip off at 6. Zion Williamson should be playing tonight for the Pelicans after serving a 1-game suspension after being late for a flight. Your Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Leroy Irvin. Your next update is in an hour.
Start your day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Work through your day.
What's that thing we do at the end of the show?
And end your day.
I'm not giving you an opinion. I don't know.
Right here. 98.5. The Sports Hub. Boston sports. Yeah, we got that covered. 98.5. The Sports Hub.
Vrabel isn't going to joke around. Vrabel's going to tighten the screws. In my opinion, there are some people in the front office that need to be told, you don't know what you're doing, and you need to take a step back. Because someone's coming into that organization now that has conviction, that will let you collaborate. He'll work with people. Yeah, sure, he'll work with you. But I'm telling you, this guy's smarter than you are. And I'm telling you, he knows what to do in terms of he has the experience from being a head coach before. He's been a coordinator before. He's been all over the league, has a lot of connections. I love the hire.
Harder than you. And you will be put in your place. I hope you understand that. You weasel, Elliot Wolf. He's a weasel.
Now,
He
why
is.
you got to call him a weasel?
Because he is a weasel.
Oh, my
You see those
goodness.
comments last week, Leroy, about Jalen Polk? Well, Jalen Polk was a plug-and-play player, but, I guess we didn't count on the development. Oh, you weasel. It's always everybody else's fault.
I haven't heard someone get called a weasel since Bobby the Brain Heenan in wrestling. Weasel? Unbelievable.
Did you watch Ladd McConkey last night? That's the
Yeah,
guy
phenomenal.
that they took over, that the Patriots passed on to
Phenomenal.
take plug-and-play Jalen Polk.
Yeah.
And it's all the wide receivers coach's fault,
Yeah.
according to Elliott Wolf. It's a weaselly move.
Yeah. Going back to Teddy Bruschi, he mentioned collaboration, and I jotted it down real quick. Collaboration is great. That's a great thing. But it's great when you're around people who you trust to do their job.
Would you trust Elliott Wolf?
No, I wouldn't. Not at all.
The way he's carried himself, the comments he made.
Right
out.
now, he is somewhere asking for some boxes and tape, and he's getting one of those 1999 U-Hauls because he's getting ready to ship out. He's got to know it. If he doesn't, he's got to be at least shaken and worried about it. But you called him a weasel. Unbelievable.
He is a weasel. And he's a cockroach, and he's survived the whole thing. No, it's Belichick. He survived Belichick. It was Bill's fault, right?
Yeah.
He survived this year so far because it's not Jalen Polk isn't his fault. It was the wide receivers coach. 4-13 rosters. That guy's been in the personnel department there a while.
Yeah.
The team has sucked, and everybody else has lost their job except for him. He's a weasel, and he's a cockroach.
We talked about stability.
He's a survivor, which you almost have to respect, Leroy.
You do.
When everybody
I don't know
else
how he
around
does
you
it.
goes and you get to stick around, you're like, dude, he's kissing up to the right people. Did you hear Robert Kraft last week talking about how they have changed the grading system and so much progress has been made in the personnel department? Yet they're 4-13. No progress has been made.
Yep.
The roster still sucks, and he's still around. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Good for Elliott Wolf for convincing the right people that it's not his fault, when actually it's his fault.
Oh, yeah. He has a lot of responsibility. Listen, we were talking earlier. This move feels like stability is back. So when stability is back, you want to continue to work on that, continue to see that grow. You can't continue to have stability collaborating with people with a questionable record, especially recently. I'm talking about Wolf. He's not going to be here much longer.
Well, don't tell that to any of the beat reporters and the national guys and guys like Bert who say how well respected Elliott Wolf is around the NFL. I'm sure he is, because Elliott Wolf strikes me as the type of guy, based on those comments made about Jalen Polk and the wide receivers coach last week, strikes me as the type of guy who knows how to glad hand behind the scenes and everybody gets to like him. And sure, I'm sure he gets people to like him, but the results aren't there.
They're not. 4-13.
You know where the results are? Mike Vrabel with NFL quarterbacks. Listen to this. Mike Vrabel, his record with Ryan Tannehill. Are you a fan of Ryan Tannehill?
I'm neither here or there with him.
That's who Ryan Tannehill is.
Yep.
He is an NFL quarterback. He's not good. It's not awful, but he's not good. Mike Vrabel with Ryan Tannehill. His record was 39-24.
Okay, I'm writing this down.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel, and this is courtesy of Mark Daniels. Mike Vrabel with Will Levis, Josh Dobbs, Malik Willis, Marcus Mariota, and Blaine Gabbert, 15-21. You give him a quarterback, he's been successful.
Okay.
He overachieved. He overachieved with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback. So the question will be, the argument would be from Patriots fans who didn't want to hire Mike Vrabel, the argument would be you should have hired Ben Johnson with a young quarterback who we all feel good about, and let him bring his innovative offense here, and you'll get the most out of Drake May. I think the thing is overblown. I do. Give me the coach who has done it before. And if you give Mike Vrabel talent, he will make something happen with it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And also, we have to factor in, we had Alex Barth in here who does a phenomenal job. He has a piece on the Sports Hub website, 985thesportshub.com. Go read it. It's about, let me go and make sure I get the title right.
Who will Mike Vrabel bring
yes.
in as offensive coordinator?
Yes.
And he names every person in the NFL.
And what he also mentioned on air with us, and I trust him. I trust Alex Barth.
I do too.
He said Mike Vrabel has I don't want to put words in his mouth. Outstanding might be a little bit too much. But he has a good track record for hiring offensive coordinators.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of his offensive coordinators in Tennessee went on to be head coaches in the NFL. because of what they accomplished with Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback.
Again, look, everything right now feels great. There's work to be done. They're going to have to show and prove on the field. But as of today, noon, it does feel good. It feels like stability is back in the organization.
How about Bob in the car? Hey, Bob.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
First a question and then kind of an observation. Has there ever been any study or stats on Belichick as his first half as opposed to second half? I always seemed when I was watching him years ago that the first half they were either behind or equal, and then the second half they won it. So is there any stats on that? Any study? Well, okay. For Vrabel, then, he's a defenseman. What should he go for first? I would think, again, this is my observation, that the first thing they should do is go for an offensive line. You got to protect the guy.
No doubt. And I'll let you go on that. And you need to know who's picking that offensive lineman. And it can't be Elliott Wolf. Can't be. Nope. Can't be that guy.
What'd you call him? A what?
He's a weasel. And a cockroach. No, but he is a survivor. I mean, a survivor would be the nice term. I prefer cockroach with Elliott Wolf. Dan in Pawtucket. Hey, Dan.
Leroy and Matt, fret not. Vrabel has full control, and that will include the draft selections. He had maximum leverage going into this process. He interviewed the Crafts more than the Crafts interviewed him. I think that he went in there with a list of requirements and told him, I want this, this, and this. You want me to be a coach? This is what I want. This is what I need. And as far as Wolf and Grow, they got to go.
I'm right there with you, Dan.
I'll put him too.
And you know what? If Vrabel didn't go in with a list of requirements, then he left a hell of a lot on the table.
No.
He was their guy all along. They needed to make this happen, and they did. And that's the story here today. They got their guy.
And that's why I'm begging once again, when they do the official press conference and
tomorrow at noon, Leroy.
Tomorrow at noon, somebody please have the balls to ask why this season and not last season. Please.
Let's get you a media pass and you can go down there and do it.
I don't know.
Why wouldn't they want you?
I don't know. All the teams around here act real funny with me. I didn't do anything. I don't know.
Listen, Leroy, of the people on the show today, I think they should much prefer you going down there instead of me going down there and asking questions.
Are you going? You're going?
No, I'm not going. They shouldn't want me. They should want you.
That's a question that just needs to be asked. And then the other question that I would really love to ask, and I don't think you're going to get a straight answer. Did the firing of Gerard Mayo 90 minutes after the game have anything to do with trying to hurry up the process of getting this done?
Yes, no doubt.
But they wouldn't answer.
Vrabel was their guy.
Yeah.
Yes, they wanted to move quickly on this. That's what the whole process has shown this week.
But why the rush? Could you still have gotten Mike Vrabel if you fired Mayo the next day?
Well, if you drag your feet on it, does somebody come into the process and blow him away?
You're right. You're right.
So yes, they wanted to be quick on this, and the whole week proved that Vrabel was their guy. And yes, they bungled the Rooney Rule thing. You bring in Leftwich and Hamilton, and then all of a sudden, you ask for Aaron Glenn 48 hours later, and he does the right thing and says, no, this is a sham. I'm not doing that. So, yes, that was a bad look, but it was all because they knew what their end game was. It was Mike Vrabel or bust. Ben Johnson was nothing more than a fallback plan. Vrabel was their guy. As Mike Giardi reported, he was their first, second, and third choices, and they got it done. And I'm assuming Vrabel went in there asking for a number of things, and they better have given it all to him. I would hope so.
I hope so.
How about Joey in Kingston? Joey.
Hey, happy Sunday, gentlemen.
Same to you,
Joey.
So, Leroy, I kind of hope tomorrow, if Kraft could be honest, I think him and Mayo had a kumbaya moment out in Israel a few years ago, which is a big part of the hiring. But Leroy, I called Matt last Sunday. I had gone to the game, and lucky enough to be invited up to the Red Seat, so you get to stay up there for a little while. I was watching the fifth quarter. They hadn't heard about it. I left the building. And I had a Bills fan tell me your coach just got fired. I'm like, you're kidding me. By the time I got to my car, my wife had sent me the letter that was already written. So this was all prepared. And Matt, remember when I said to you last Sunday, I wouldn't be surprised if there was already a paper napkin deal with Vrabel. So, but anyways, but as far as today, here in the news today, that's Kraft's letting the fans know, letting us know, me know. They mean business. Everyone's in the playoff today. You know, something we used to be in, we're not there today. That's to plant the seed in our heads. Guess what? We mean business, and we want to be back there.
It's sellable to the fans.
Yeah,
the whole thing about it is sellable to the fans. And you should feel good about it.
Yeah.
I feel good about it as a Patriots fan today. This is a good day.
It's a good day, but to go to what that caller said, you know, mentioning that it seems as though the decision was made way before we got any wind of it,
Yes.
okay? And because of that, this is why I asked Alex Barth, does he anticipate any issues concerning the hiring process? Because it doesn't seem, I don't want to say legit, that's too tough.
No, it was a bag job.
Yeah. The transparency just wasn't, it's not there like it should be when it comes to the hiring process.
Well, actually, it was pretty transparent that it was a bag job. Everybody could see it.
Yeah.
You know, there was the reporting on it last week, the way they handled the interviews this week.
Yeah.
I would even argue the Ben Johnson thing probably wasn't that legitimate. I mean, he was your fallback plan in case Vrabel ended up somewhere else, but there was no real plan B to this. Vrabel was their guy. Tom Pelissero reporting this morning that Vrabel told Tom Brady, it's like, yeah, I'm not interviewing because I'm going to the Patriots.
Wow.
So this was going to happen. And you know what? It should have happened.
I need those contract details. I'm just curious. I want to know, is it 4? Is it 5 years? I don't care about how much the money. I just want to see the years.
I bet you it's 5 years. In fact, I don't even really so much care about the years because he's going to get a legitimate opportunity to turn this thing around. You're not going to fire Mike Vrabel 1 year into this thing if you're 4-13 again. You're not going to do that.
If they're 4-13 next season.
No, he's not going anywhere.
No, I'm not saying he's going anywhere, but do you think fans will be more patient and understanding, even if the record is the same as it was this past season?
I think Patriots fans' patience has run out, and it should have run out. This is 5 years post-Brady. It's time to stop screwing around. They went out and got a real head coach. Now it's time to start spending real money and bring in a real GM. Anything less than that is unacceptable. So will their anger be directed? If they go 4-13 again, the anger I do not think will be directed at Mike Vrabel.
Okay.
Gerard Mayo was an easy target, and he made himself an easy target. He went to the podium every week, and he, acted like a clown half the time. He's throwing his offensive coordinator under the bus, can't execute a benching. You're not going to get that with Mike Vrabel. The team might be 4-13 because they suck, because they have no talent, but people won't, at the end of next year, if they go 4-13, people won't pin that on Vrabel. They'll pin that on whoever the GM is, or more importantly, they'll pin it on the Krafts, which is where this all begins. And to me, this is a sign that the Krafts are serious about turning this thing around. It's step one. Step two is actually spending some real money.
Yeah. You said anything less. I don't know if you're old enough to remember. Do you remember the Charles Barkley line in the commercial? I forget what he was selling.
What? I'm not a role model?
Nope.
I know that.
Anything less would be uncivilized. You don't remember that?
I don't remember that.
Oh, we got to find that.
We'll find that commercial.
Jeff, I know you know what I'm talking about. Charles Barkley, anything less will be uncivilized. Can you find that for me, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Bounce back with that. One open phone line. Grab it. It's McCarthy and Leroy.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
In the fullback, Dillon the tailback in the I. 3 tight ends out there with Vrabel, the tight end on the left, in motion right to left. Back to the right goes the tight end, pass to the left, touchdown, Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel, who caught a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl last year, catches his first touchdown pass of this season as a tight end off the left side, and he was wide open.
Just takes you back, man.
It does.
To a good place, a better place.
It does. And it puts a smile on my face. I think a caller mentioned this earlier. But yesterday I was watching the playoffs in silence. And I'm like, man, the Pats used to run this. The Pats used to be the envy of the NFL. They were the kings of this thing called the NFL playoffs. And now they're nowhere to be found. And then you get up today and you head, what was it, around 10:15, and you get the news. I'm trying to be logical about it, but I can't help it. My emotions are getting caught up, and I'm excited simply because it feels like there's stability again and that the future could be looking bright. We could be getting back to that. I don't know.
Well, Leroy, it's time to pump the brakes on that.
Uh-oh.
Charles Robinson, senior NFL writer, Yahoo Sports, something like that. Works for Yahoo.
Come on, man. Don't rain on my parade.
I'm going to.
Oh, Lord.
He says, and I quote, "I'm hearing Giants personnel advisor Ryan Cowden is expected to be added to the Patriots personnel mix, but not with the GM title. I believe Elliott Wolf will retain personnel power. However, Cowden's addition to the front office is Vrabel's preference. Dynamics will be interesting." End quote. End tweet.
He's got Polaroids somewhere or something. I don't understand.
The weasel. He has hoodwinked everybody else around him, hasn't he? Including Robert Kraft. Hoodwinked him. First thing Robert Kraft says when asked about Elliott Wolf and Matt Groh, the job they did. Well, I think we've made a lot of changes in our personnel department. We've changed our grading system. Oh, great. Well, that got you Jalen Polk over Ladd McConkey. That got you another 4-13 football team. Elliott Wolf out there throwing his coaches under the bus. Weasel. He's such a weasel. I can't believe. Cockroach. What a survivor. Elliott Wolf will retain personnel power, according to Charles Robinson of Yahoo. Your thoughts?
It's disappointing. You just rained on not only my parade, but there are plenty of people who are just like, what are you talking about? I hope that's not true. It's a report. Plenty of reports have come out about numerous things and end up not being true. I just have a hard time understanding why someone who's responsible for the talent, and the talent has been horrendous, can somehow escape and retain their job. That doesn't make sense to me.
It's unbelievable. And I don't know why Mike Vrabel would want it. Given the leverage that Vrabel had walking into this situation, one of the first questions I would have had if I were Mike Vrabel is, what's the deal with personnel? Who's making the decisions? Yep. Do I have final say, or does my guy have final say? What's Elliott Wolf doing here? What's Matt Groh doing here? What will they do if they stick around? What's Robin Glazer's role in all of this? And Jonathan, are you picking the players, yes or no? Like, those would have been a bunch of questions that I would have asked if I were Mike Vrabel, and I wouldn't sign on the dotted line unless I felt really good about it. And if this reporting is true, that Elliott Wolf is going to retain personnel power, the only thing I will say is that gives Vrabel cover. This is a long process, Leroy, right? I mean, they're not going to turn this thing around. This team won't be a playoff team next year, I don't think. I mean, I think they'll improve. I think they should improve under Mike Vrabel, but I don't think they're going to, go from a 4-win team to a 10-win team and make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to do that. So, if year one doesn't go well, who gets blamed? Mike Vrabel or Elliott Wolf?
It's probably, it'll be Wolf.
Of course it will be.
Yeah.
He's the holdover. So Elliott Wolf is here as a human shield for everybody for year one. I think that's such a half measure. Rip the Band-Aid off completely.
Vrabel got, according to reports, a multi-year contract.
Yes. As would any coach.
But so if that's the case, then rip the Band-Aid off and say, screw this, and we're going to do it a different way. I don't need any covering. I'm covered because I have a multi-year contract. I'm going to be good. A multi-year contract tells me that you understand that this is still a rebuilding process and I'm going to have some time. I just don't know. See, in my head, I'm thinking, well, maybe, and again, we none of us were at the table to sit there and hear them talk about the whole situation, the contract and stuff. But I'm like, man, there's no way Mike Vrabel got caught up in the whole reunion thing, coming home and all that, and letting certain things slide and say, oh, okay, you want to keep Wolf? Oh, that's fine. I'm just happy to be home. I can't believe that. There's no way that happened. No way.
The Krafts believe in him. I think that's obvious. I mean, that was a pretty impassioned defense of Elliott Wolf from Robert Kraft last week.
It's a problem. It's a problem. And
so what they're saying to him, sorry to interrupt you, Leroy, what they're saying to him is, yeah, we'll let you bring in your guy, but he'll have to work in tandem and he'll have to work together with Elliott Wolf.
Well, then I take back what I said earlier in the show. I thought this past season was the final lesson in their test of ownership needs to fall back and trust who they hire to do their job. I take that all back. If this is the case, then that means that they're still in the mix.
So it's going to set up a power struggle between Vrabel and Wolf. The Vrabel side of things and the Wolf Grow side of things. Alonzo Highsmith, Pat Stewart. It's going to set that up. And in the end, Leroy, Vrabel is going to win that power struggle. But why? Doesn't it just invite dysfunction?
Yes.
That's all it does. And eventually you'll get it figured out, and Wolf will be blown out of here, and Grow, and Pat Stewart, and Alonzo Highsmith, and all those guys, right? I mean, Vrabel will eventually bring in his full team, and Cowden will win out, and Cowden will eventually be the GM. Why aren't you just doing it now? Just rip the Band-Aid off and don't introduce this type of dysfunction. This is on ownership.
It's a repetitive issue. We keep saying that about different situations concerning the Patriots. Why not just rip off why are you still involved? It's the same thing over and over again. I guess their argument could be, but for 20-something years, we were successful at it. Yeah,
you had Tom Brady.
Exactly. But you know how some people can be, and owners can be. Yeah, we had them, but it was really us. It was really about us.
The way our program, the way we spend money, all that stuff.
Yes. We did it then. We can do it again. Pride, arrogance, all that stuff. That could be part of it. But reports have been made about numerous things in sports and life, and they've come out to be not true. I am praying to the dear Lord above that this is a report that ends up not being true.
You're setting up factions. That's all you're doing. The Elliott Wolf side of things versus the Mike Vrabel side of things. And by the way, where do the Krafts fall on that? Do Jonathan and Robert want to keep Elliott around because Elliott Wolf says the right things to them? Because it feels like Elliott Wolf is the type of guy who says the right things to stick around. And, is Elliott Wolf going to maybe take Jonathan and Robin's opinion into account when making personnel decisions? Who's really running the thing? We still don't have that answer. If Elliott Wolf is still in the building and retains personnel power, it's still Elliott Wolf and Jonathan Kraft and Robin Glazier maybe running things. I don't know how Jonathan and Robin play into that, but you go back to the reporting last year, about Jonathan wanting more personnel control. And, do you install somebody like Elliott Wolf because he's going to let Jonathan in the room and let him offer his opinion on stuff like that and take his opinion into account? Now, or was that just Bill Belichick blaming Jonathan and Robin? Because I think we've understood, based on some of Belichick's comments in the last week, that Bill doesn't have too much use for Jonathan and Robin, based on some of the things he said.
Yeah.
So, but it still doesn't answer the question, who is in charge here?
Yeah, who's in charge? Now, to my understanding, Mike Vrabel isn't the type of guy to just be a yes person.
No.
And just to go with the flow. So maybe the hope is that, we still want to have some say, but Vrabel, you have the ability, the go-ahead to challenge us. And we're going to genuinely listen to what you have to say. I'm laughing because that sounds silly as hell.
No, it's eventually going to be Vrabel versus Wolf. Vrabel's people versus Wolf's people. And eventually Vrabel's going to win out on that. I mean, it'll take a year or two, but he'll win out. They brought him in for a reason. They believe in him. And eventually Elliott Wolf will get blown out of here, or his influence will be limited. But apparently it's not now.
And it's delaying the process of improvement.
It's just setting yourself up for failure again. That's a problem. I hope that report's not true. Again, Charles Robinson says Elliott Wolf retaining personnel power. With Mike Vrabel here. Your thoughts, 617-779-0985. It's McCarthy and Leroy.
Boston's home for sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
We only get 48 minutes together. A few times a week, a few months a year. 48 minutes.
Big game for the Celtics tonight.
Where the 72,000...
They say that all good things must end.
Did you listen to the afternoon show at all this week, Leroy?
I did.
Yes. How Elliot Wolf just here so the lights can turn on and off, right?
Yeah. Felt good, yeah.
Yep. Hey, Mike, turns out apparently not.
It didn't. Oh, man, I should look this up. Another team fired their coach and then fired their GM, too.
The Raiders.
The Raiders, yes.
Yes.
So it wasn't.
Well, they have smart home technology, Leroy. The lights turn themselves on and off. You don't need a GM.
I'm like, oh shoot, if they can do it, the Patriots can't.
No, of course the Patriots can do it. They're choosing not to, which we have found out today. Apparently, Charles Robinson reporting that Elliot Wolf will retain. He says he believes Elliot Wolf will retain personnel power here in New England. But nah, he's just here so they could send the facts over. Nope, they like him. Elliot Wolf has made them like him. The same way he's made a lot of the beat writers like him, made people around the NFL as highly respected. I keep hearing this. Elliot Wolf, highly respected around the NFL. You know why? Because he's a weasel. He's a weasel. Makes everybody like him. No, it's not my fault. It's his fault. Don't look at me. Jalen Polk, not on me. It's wide receivers coach.
You think him, I'm talking about Wolf and his crew.
Cronies, I believe, would be a better way to put it.
Had anything to do with. Now, I'm not saying Gerard Mayo did a great job. Yes, there were issues, but it makes me wonder. Man, 90 minutes after a game, I wonder what type of conversations were being had behind the scenes, behind Mayo's back, that helped fast forward the process.
No doubt, Wolf is running up the back stairs to the Crafts and saying it's on the coaches. I mean, he said it to Henry McKenna of Fox Sports.
Wow.
Jalen Polk, plug-and-play player, but I guess I've learned not to count on development. I mean, if he's saying that publicly, you think he's not saying that privately to the Crafts when he knows it could be his job on the line?
So if Vrabel is a no-nonsense kind of guy, a no-nonsense kind of coach, Teddy Bruschi kind of touched on it too, how is this going to work?
It's not going to work.
So why even play around and mess around with it?
Because the Crafts have been hoodwinked by this guy.
If the reports are true.
I hope they're not. But listen, Robert this past week, and we'll get the audio of Robert defending Elliot Wolf and Matt Groh. And I mean, Leroy, haven't you heard that they changed the grading system with the draft?
I heard. Impressive.
Very impressive.
I guess.
I mean, that grading system got you Jalen Polk over Lad McConkey. But it's still very, very impressive.
Who was eating up. I mean, he was just eating last night.
You watch him last night?
Oh,
it
my
was great.
Goodness. My favorite play was when he came back for the ball. Two defenders were closing down on him. He just curled around and just took off. I said, look at this guy.
Pretty good.
This guy.
He wasn't plug and play, though. We know that from Elliot Wolf, who definitely knows what he's doing. It's everybody else's fault. You know, the most important thing, Leroy, in life is always blame the little guy. Like the wide receivers coach, and never take accountability for anything you do. That's the way you want to live life.
Hey,
like you have kids, right?
Yes.
Is that what you tell them?
What's that? Blame the little guy?
Blame the little guy and never take accountability for anything in life?
Heck no.
Maybe you should try.
No.
Elliot Wolf approach.
That's one of the things I worry about in life is how will my kids perform once I'm gone? And I can't set them up like that. That's a bad way. That's some terrible teaching.
No, Leroy, it will ensure that your kids are always gainfully employed when you can just blame everybody else like Elliot Wolf. Terrible. It will ensure they always keep their job. Now, even when you bring in a new guy who has the leverage to get rid of him, the Crafts say no. Elliot Wolf was in the room interviewing Mike Vrabel. But he's just here to turn the lights out.
Oh, my God.
Those lights never turn out. They're always on.
For the record, I know the Chargers got their behinds whooped last night, 32-12. But McConkey, right? 9 receptions.
How many yards?
197 yards.
Jesus.
Averaged about 22 yards a catch, and he had a touchdown.
Well, the touchdown was 86 yards, which was 1 yard shy of Jalen Polk's full season.
Was eaten.
One catch, 86 yards. You know how many catches Javon Baker had this year? One.
Wow.
Not good.
Yeah, if I'm the Crafts, I'm looking at, hey, I saw the game last night. Remember this dude right here? 9 receptions, 197. What was the reason?
Oh, Tyler Hughes. Don't you know, Leroy? It's all the coach's fault. Do you see McConkey just like, you see that speed he had last night? You see Jalen Polk, does he have that type of speed?
Apparently not. But you know what? They're probably saying, hey, give us some time. We got to build the offensive line.
No, I thought the offensive line was really good. I thought that was a good look for Elliott Wolf this past year.
Or he's saying, hey, you guys don't want to spend money. That could be the excuse he's using and pointing at the ownership. And saying,
there's no way Elliott Wolf is saying that to his bosses. If there's one thing Elliott Wolf knows how to do, it's kiss ass to get to the right place. He's not saying that to the bosses. And he might be saying that to other people.
Yeah.
As when they say, hey, Elliott, why did your team suck? Well, man, let me tell you, they're not spending money and the coaches suck. Don't look at me. He's going to all his little Green Bay Packer friends, all his kids of former GM friends, and saying, it's not my fault. Please, look at them. Look at everybody else around me.
Oh, boy.
And he gets to keep his job. Proof in the pudding. Elliott Wolf still here. You like that, Mike? Hello? You out there? Elliott Wolf keeping his job. Oh, hey, McCarthy, don't focus so much on it. I think I'm going to focus on it. No, I think now's the time to worry about it. Steve in Florida. Steve.
Hey, what's going on, guys? First-time caller. I'll start by saying that the first NFL game I ever went to, I grew up a couple hours from D.C., was one of Tom Brady's first preseason games in the early 2000s. So I've watched Mike Vrabel for about as long and watched him coach as well. Used to work at ESPN Radio in Virginia. Now I'm working down in Florida.
Did you work with Nick Cattles at ESPN Radio in Virginia?
No, actually, I worked in a smaller area, a place called Stanton, Virginia, which is
I've been there.
A couple hours from Virginia Tech. And if there's anybody who knows about false promises with teams, it's me growing up a Redskins and Commanders fan. 2 words I have to say, Albert Haynesworth, and that'll explain everything.
I'll let you go on that, Steve. Thanks for the stories. Appreciate it. How about Jake in New Hampshire? Hey, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I see that sums up Vrabel coming to the Patriots is mediocre hiring, uninspiring. I don't get it. You all are now trying to find a way to give him a scapegoat when he fails. He had a mediocre time in Tennessee. He inherited Derrick Henry. We don't have a Derrick Henry. I don't see why you want to go back to 2004 in this whole do your job.
Who would you have wanted?
All up. Blow it all up.
Who would you have wanted, Jake?
Denard Wilson.
To be fair, Jake, that's his name. Jake is not the only one that feels like that. There's a lot of people who feel like that, who don't understand. And this is why I brought this up early in the show, because I do get it. Patriot fans want a familiar face. It helps us all feel good.
It's sellable to the fans.
It's sellable to the fans. But if you're able to just push that to the side, put your emotions, your feelings to the side, there are a lot of people who feel exactly that way. So, again, yes, it does feel like there's some stability now, but at the end of the day, Vrabel, the Patriots organization, are going to have to show and prove on the field. Today it feels great.
We haven't heard from too many people who are against the move, but how about another Jake who's against the move? Jake in Boston. Hi, Jake.
Yeah, what's going on? Hey, Matt, if the Crafts haven't hired their little lapdog soccer GM in 2 decades, what makes you think Elliott Wolf's going to be any different if he kisses the right behind? If you asked me what I wanted, I would have screamed Vrabel from the rooftops last year. Now I'm not so sure, and I think time has everything to do with that. I do want Tommy Reese over Josh McDaniels. I do love the job he did last year with Jalen Milroe, making him look like a competent quarterback. But I've got 3 little concerns here. One is the dynasty talk and what the plan going forward is, because you're a baseball guy, Matt. Mm-hmm. We seem to love these GMs and coaches that work together to hack the game. We've got one with the Celtics and Joe Mazzulla and the way he works with Brad. The Rays have hacked the game on the baseball side to be overly successful despite what they spend. The Rams are hacking the game in this league. Their defense is, I think, a $28 million defense, and they're sitting here as a playoff team right now, and they haven't had a ton of draft capital in the last 5 or 6 years. So I'm really curious as to if Vrabel is placating the PR versus are you finding ways to reinvent the game and do what you did or do what Belichick did in 2001, 2, 3, and 4, where they basically hacked their way through the evolution of free agency.
Yeah, and Jake, I'll let you go on that because I think it's a good point. Every situation that Jake just mentioned, Leroy, those are coaches and GMs who work really well together, right? It's a system. McVay and Snead in L.A. Not that I like the Rays model, but it works for them, right? I mean, Neander and Kevin Cash, and that thing is a well-oiled machine. Everybody is on the same page. And if you're keeping Elliott Wolf here and you're bringing in Mike Vrabel, you are asking for trouble eventually. You are asking what happened in Tennessee for Mike Vrabel. John Robinson traded A.J. Brown, and things were never the same. They weren't on the same page after that. And we'll hear from Jared Stillman, who does Afternoon Drive at 102.5 The Game in Nashville. He's going to join the program at 1:35 to explain how things went down in Tennessee and what we need to know about that. But that was a huge problem there. You are setting this thing up for failure again if Elliott Wolf is still in control and still has power and still has say. You are asking for factions to break out between the coaching side of things and the personnel side of things. And Vrabel will have his guys in the front office, but they won't be Wolf and Kraft's guys. And that's a problem. This is an issue.
And it won't be as bad as what we saw this past season. I mean, we literally sat and heard and saw examples of factions. It was part of the issue. It's like confusion, toxic.
Yep.
It won't be as bad as that, but any of it is too much.
Why would you invite it? It's so easy. Yeah. Just fire the guy or just hire somebody over him and keep him here if you really like him. And, you say he has to report to somebody else. There you go. And Vrabel's guy, Cowden, has the final say. That apparently is not what's happening. 617-779-0985. We continue. It's McCarthy and Leroy on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Doesn't it make you smile?
You know what? You rained on my parade, so I'm going to rain on yours.
Oh, please don't do that.
Makes me,
Leroy, would I ever rain on anybody's parade?
You did
Come on.
earlier in this show.
I think that's, Jeff, I think that's unreasonable. I think that is an unfair assumption that I would rain on somebody's parade. This is, Leroy's being mean to me.
No, listen.
The positivity over
No, yeah, right, exactly.
Listen, it does put a smile on my face, but let's be honest. 50%, maybe a little bit more than that, is the past is what's putting smiles on people's faces today. It has nothing to do with what could happen in the future. It's no one's, I'm not going to say no one, but most of us aren't really deeply analyzing what it means for Mike Vrabel to be the head coach of the New England Patriots again. It's a feeling. Mm-hmm. It's a connection to the past.
It's a human emotion.
It's a human emotion. Does that equate to wins? Does that equate to success? That's yet to be seen. But a lot of us, including myself, I had to bring it on down, are excited and celebrating as if it automatically means success. We still got to wait and see. It does feel like stability. I've been saying that over and over again, and I'll continue to say that. It does feel like there's some stability now. But 50% of it, at least, is because we keep connecting it to the past.
You made the argument that Robert Kraft made a bad decision last year because he made an emotional decision on Gerard Mayo.
Yes.
And I would say there was a financial component to that, too, because they didn't want to pay him to go away. But Kraft made the emotional decision in the first place to put it down on paper, saying that Gerard Mayo would be the next head coach to keep him here.
Mm-hmm.
He was worried that Mayo was going to go somewhere else and, God forbid, become a defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers or something like that, as if that would be the end of the world. And Robert made a mistake on that. But you're not wrong in pointing out that, Vrabel is such a known commodity to us that it is comforting. It's comfort food.
It is. That's
it's mac and cheese.
Yep.
Mike Vrabel is the mac and cheese of coaches' hires. But I think this organization needs mac and cheese. And I'm going to stop it right there because that was really Colin Coward of me. Just find some really weird analogy.
But I understood it.
Yes.
I understood it. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
You are comfortable with Mike Vrabel as a Patriots fan. Here's why it's different, though, and here's why it's better. Mike Vrabel, while he is known to all of us, his coaching, he has cut his coaching teeth outside of the Patriots organization. You might think of him as a Patriots guy and a Belichick guy, and he's been here, and yes, all of that's true. But coaching? He's never been here. Ohio State. College level. That's where he started out. Houston, defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Tennessee, head coach. Cleveland, consultant. He has been in different organizations at different levels of football. He has done different jobs. This is not Gerard Mayo coming in and being inside linebackers coach and basically going straight from that to being head coach. This is completely different. This is not somebody who has been totally isolated from the rest of the NFL because he's worked for Bill Belichick and things were done very differently here. Obviously successfully for a long time, but that's not the case with Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is going to come in here and he's going to know other people around the NFL. He will have seen and experienced different mindsets and different approaches. That's why it's different. Yes, it gives you the good feelings, and I feel good about it. You should feel good about it as a Patriots fan, but it's different in that regard. And I think that's critical here, and I don't think we should overlook that.
Okay. No, you got a point. Also, just want to say real quick, when you say Kraft made a mistake,
yes,
I think we also got to drive this home. I know a lot of people are going to want to move on from talking about Gerard Mayo, but that mistake by Robert Kraft also might have ruined the chance for Gerard Mayo in any capacity,
no doubt,
when it comes to being any type of head coach, coordinator, leader in football. And that's terrible.
He set Gerard Mayo up to fail. He did. This thing wasn't Gerard Mayo's fault. Now, you needed to move on from him, because that was the first step towards fixing this thing. The second step was to hire Mike Vrabel, and the third step was to fire Elliott Wolf, which they have not done at all. In fact, he gets to stay and he gets power, according to Charles Robinson. He retains power. Elliott Wolf, the weasel. 617-779-0985. I need to feel better. I can't think about the Elliott Wolf thing right now. I need to feel a little bit better. I need to take 3 minutes to not think about Elliott Wolf keeping his job. Favorite Mike Vrabel plays as a Patriot? Think about it.
Okay.
90 seconds, no commercials. Jeff, you can think about yours too. You're playing all of these great old Gil and Gino cuts. Your favorite Mike Vrabel plays. Quick update, then right back with you. No commercials.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, this is Boston's home for sports.
Zaka cross, they scored. Porzingis, point a shot, rebound, score.
WPCFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub. The Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
All right, I've got you. It's being reported that Mike Vrabel will be the New England Patriots' next head coach after agreeing to a multi-year contract. I wish I had more details, but that's what we got so far. But Patriot Nation is celebrating regardless. The NFL wildcard round is here, and last night the Texans took out the Chargers 32-12. Let's see what else is going on. Moving on, it was Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens over the Steelers 28-14. Derrick Henry ran for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. As a team, the Ravens were 1 yard shy of 300 yards rushing. Today, the Broncos and Bills, it's starting now, like literally right now. Packers and Eagles at 4:30, Commanders Bucks at 8, Vikings and Rams tomorrow night at 8. Moving on, the Bruins 6-game losing streak is over after they beat the Florida Panthers in overtime 4-3. The Bees are off until Tuesday when they take on the Lightning at the Garden. College basketball, Cooper Flagg, Maine's own, scored a ACC freshman record 42 points to lead Duke over Notre Dame 86-78. Boston College lost to Syracuse 79-71. The Boston College women's basketball team will take on number 19 UNC at 2, and the Celtics are back in action tonight at the Garden when they take on the Pelicans. Tip off at 6. Zion Williamson should be playing tonight for the Pelicans after serving a 1-game suspension after being late for a flight. The Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Awaken 180. Weight loss week 1? Check. Weight loss every week until reaching your goal? Check, check. Real results, fast results, lasting results. Awaken180weightloss.com. I'm Leroy Irvin. Your next update is in an hour.
Boston, the greatest sports town in America.
We have a farm. I have about 200 pigs here.
We get to spill beers on each other without worrying about spilling beers on people.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5, the Sports Hub. No matter what team, no matter what player, no matter what coach, no matter what game, it all happens here. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Second and goal at the Washington 2. Play action fake. Right side. Touchdown. Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel has caught 10 passes in his Patriots career, every one of them for a touchdown.
It became like an ongoing joke that when he got on the field, a touchdown was coming, and it happened every single time. Phenomenal.
Was he an All-Pro once? I tried
to
find, Vrabel. I went to Pro Football Reference, and his coaching page came up, and I'm trying to find out how to switch over to the player page. He was a first-team All-Pro in 2007. As an aside, Mike Vrabel deserves a little bit more Hall of Fame consideration for the player that he was.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to say pump the brakes on that, McCarthy?
A little bit.
Unbelievable.
I know
the negativity here.
I know you should be
The
feeling great
negativity.
today. It's a great day, apparently, for Patriots Nation.
Apparently, it is.
Apparently. We don't know yet.
Unbelievable. Stop with your pump the brakes thing.
I'm just saying, if we come back
just
here...
let me have some fun.
No.
Damn it, Leroy.
Matt, if we come back together next year at this time...
We're coming back together next week at this time.
But I'm saying next year, and the Patriots ended up being 4-13 again... We won't be sitting here talking about it was a celebration.
No,
it all worked out.
Just let me have my moment today.
You have your moment today, but I think
you're not letting me have my moment
You're
today.
going way too fast, buddy.
Hey,
pump the brakes.
No, I'm just saying he was an All-Pro once. He was a 3-time Super Bowl champion. How many touchdowns did the guy have? He played both sides of the ball.
That's great, but that's
good
not
coach.
That's not
Hall of Fame.
Pro Football Hall of Fame material.
They put everybody else in the Hall of Fame unless you're a Patriot. This is a take I've had for a long time. The Patriots don't get the respect they deserve when it comes to the Hall of Fame.
Matt, if you would allow it and I could do it without people criticizing, I would come over there right now and rub your back and say, calm down.
Do it.
Calm down. Pat your back and say it's going to be all right.
It's all right. You can take a phone call, and I can do that. You can do that.
Side note, Bills and Broncos just started. Broncos already scored.
Denver's coming out throwing, man.
You kidding me? I think this Broncos team stinks. So, I mean, watch me get proven wrong again. Although, I'll tell you what, this Buffalo team, they're not it. They're not it. Their defense sucks.
Yeah.
That's a great throw. Wow, he got the crap beaten out of him on that.
You know what other team?
That's a tremendous throw from Bo Nix, who I still don't believe in.
You know what other team sucks in their defense, isn't it?
The Pittsburgh Steelers?
No, you're New England Patriots.
Oh, yeah, they're not great. They're not very good at football. And hopefully they'll get better at football because Mike Vrabel's the next head coach.
We'll see.
But Elliott Wolf gets to stick around.
Unbelievable.
Mark Daniels tweeting out a few minutes ago. According to a source, the expectation is that Ryan Cowden will join the Patriots front office in some capacity. Charles Robinson was first. Vrabel reportedly wanted Cowden to be the Titans GM in 2023. He spent the last 2 seasons working in the Giants front office. Power struggle. The power struggle is going to happen.
Can I present another idea on what could be happening?
Please.
Maybe Elliott Wolf will eventually be taking a lesser position and somehow, some way has agreed to help in the transition from him to who was the
Cowden.
To Cowden. Maybe I know that sounds wild too, but that could be the situation. I don't know.
I would say the only reporting we have on this so far is Mark Daniels following up and saying, yes, he expects Ryan Cowden to be a part of the front office, but Charles Robinson saying, here's the same thing. He will be added to the personnel mix, not with the GM title. I believe Elliott Wolf will retain personnel power. So until I get reporting otherwise, the Mark Daniels report, all it says is he's coming in some capacity. The only report we have definitively on this either way, and again, it's I believe Wolf will retain personnel power. Right now, that is the leader in the clubhouse among the reports today. It's all we can base it on. Elliott Wolf sticking around, and as of right now has personnel power. But I was told he was just here to turn the lights on and off. I was told that.
Wow.
Yep. Miles at Matt McCarthy 98.5. Felger's going to have some explaining to do after calling us all stupid for worrying that this exact thing would happen with Wolf and he would not be let go. I am terrified that he is staying. Yes, you should be terrified. And as of right now, he's still here. And the reporting is he gets to keep power. Not good. Not good. I need to cleanse the palate from that. Favorite Mike Vrabel play? Do you have one? I mean, is it the touchdown in Super Bowl 38, Super Bowl 39? Wait, did he catch? He got the 2-point conversion in 38, right? And a touchdown in 39? Because that was the first time they really broke out Vrabel as a tight end. 2-point conversion.
Hold on, let me look something up.
Look up Super Bowl 38. That game is criminally underrated in the history of Super Bowls. It was a 2-point conversion, right? Or did Falk have the direct snap on the 2-point conversion? Mike Vrabel. Let's see. No, he caught a touchdown. So it was then Kevin Falk on the direct snap for the 2-point conversion. I would so much rather live in 2003, Leroy, than live in now.
But see, that's the problem with a lot of us, including myself. The past is over. Like, let it go. It's over. And I don't think Mike Vrabel should get a pass for what he did in the past. It needs to be about today and the future. So let's remember that. Again, I understand being very excited and celebrating today because you are familiar with him. He has some experience. So be happy. Enjoy. But don't forget that ultimately it's about growing and being a contender again. So just keep that in mind. Again, you got all off season to celebrate. No, I'm going to give you until the draft.
Okay.
You've got until the draft.
That's very kind of you.
To just, throw rose petals at his feet. But then after that, it's time to move on and get to what's happening now in the present day and the future.
Now, how about this? The 2 key third down conversions on the Patriots drive, tied at 22. 11 plays, 68 yards. Almost nice. 2:29. The Patriots go ahead and score on Carolina to make it 29-22. So they were down. They were down 22-21. Brady converts a 3rd and 5. 6-yard pass to Troy Brown. 3rd and 9 at the Carolina 21. Brady to Givens, 18 yards, down to the Carolina 3. Antoine Smith, rush for 2 yards. Mike Vrabel, touchdown pass on 2nd and goal from the 1. Then Kevin Falk goes in for a 2-point conversion on the direct snap.
I'm looking at it right now. It was so comical because every time he would check in on the offense, I sort of remember either the commentators or whoever I'm sitting with watching the game saying, we all know it's going to him. And somehow, some way, the other teams wouldn't focus on him, and he still gets the touchdown. You're like, what are we doing?
That was the first time they went to Vrabel. That was his first touchdown. How many touchdowns did he have?
That's what I'm saying.
Scored a receiving touchdown in consecutive Super Bowls, becoming the only primarily defensive player to score in 2 Super Bowls. Yeah, I know that. I just how many touchdowns did he score? How many touchdown catches? Scoring. 11 touchdowns in his career.
Wow.
Got 2 touchdowns in Kansas City, too.
That's nice. That's really
How about
nice.
that?
That's dope.
It is. I'm right there with you. All pro, 11 touchdowns, 3-time Super Bowl champion, good head coach, Hall of Fame.
No,
Leroy.
stop
Hall
it.
of Fame.
Stop.
I won't tolerate that type of
Stop.
negativity.
You're gonna have people calling in, going at you for that. Don't do that. I don't want.
I welcome that.
Don't set yourself up. I want you to have a nice, peaceful Sunday. I don't want people coming for you.
I don't
like
care
that.
if the people think I'm stupid. I've already proven myself to be stupid for 11 straight years here. I don't care what you think of me. You already feel the same way.
Oh, God.
Come on. Dan in Rhode Island. Hey, Dan.
Hey, so my only rationale for Wolf is that he somehow has secured a bootleg copy of the Orchids of Asia tape, and he's using it as blackmail on Kraft till said time is done. But
he's a weasel.
Well, yeah, I kind of said he
Elliot
has
Wolf, the weasel.
He must have Polaroids. He went old school. He doesn't have pictures in his phone. He has a stack of somebody doing something they ain't supposed to be doing, because that's the only explanation I can come up with.
I mean, listen, if you build, a couple 4-13 football teams, that's, and I know this is his first crack at it, but he was in the room. I remember Bill Belichick on the night they drafted Mac Jones. Elliot, we good with this? Matt, we good with this? Yep. Elliot Wolf getting more personnel power, and that thing's gone. It's gone beautifully. I mean, really, he's got a big leg to stand on. Have you seen his resume? How could you possibly move on from Elliot Wolf?
I know.
How about Junior in the car? Junior.
Yo, yeah, I'm for that move. And speaking of people that are always open when you know what's going to them, is Kelsey. It just drives me nuts. But I have 2 points. One is, I think that Kraft, with all this business strategy and all this other stuff, he wasn't a business tycoon. His wife Myra's father had the businesses, and he was just brought into the fold. So that's kind of fraudulent, I think. And then why doesn't the Rooney rule, did they violate that? And how come women aren't a part of that yet? And thanks to that guy in Florida. I really appreciate him telling us where he grew up, where he works, what school he went to. That was very charismatic.
I agree. No, it was 50 seconds too long.
Matt, I apologize, and I apologize to the people because I meant to do some research on this concerning the Rooney Rule, and I wonder if, and maybe there's somebody out there that can give us an answer. I wonder if part of the process is the interview doesn't just stay with that team. I'm wondering what I mean by that. I wonder if there are conversations between owners that go on and say, hey, we're not choosing this guy, but here's what he said, here's where he's qualified, and that information gets passed around the league. I just wonder.
No, it's a catch-22, right? Because it introduces a lot of sham interviews, and these interviews this week were sham interviews. Let's call them what they were. Mike Vrabel was their target. He was their guy. Even Ben Johnson, to an extent, was a sham interview. He was the backup plan, but Vrabel was, as Mike Giardi reported earlier today, plan 1, 2, and 3. The hope is the Rooney Rule, allows somebody that maybe, you wouldn't normally interview if you could just go out and hire Mike Vrabel. You wouldn't normally interview Byron Leftwich or Pep Hamilton, and they come in and they impress you.
Right.
You say, huh. So when you're talking in league circles, you say, who actually had a really good idea on this was Byron Leftwich.
Yes.
Or, what have you, and that opens the door for somebody else. I don't know how to make it better. And the last thing I want to do is invite ideas from the callers on how to make the Rooney Rule better, because, Leroy, if there's one place I don't want to go,
oh yeah, I know,
it's to the phone lines on the Rooney Rule.
Trust me.
But let's call it what it is this week. That was a sham.
Yeah, it was.
It was a sham.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make it better. I'm not here to fix it. All I'm here to say is this. The Patriots got the right guy. They got the right guy, and they got their guy. And you should be excited about that as a Patriots fan.
Yes.
617-779-0985. Good opportunity to hop on the line because we have 2 open lines. They've been hard to come by today. Also at 1:35, we're going to chat with Jared Stillman from 102.5 The Game in Nashville. He's thereafter. He is the Mike Felger of Nashville.
Okay.
And he will explain how everything went in the city. That next.
Get quality entrees at Whole Foods Market. 3% no antibiotics ever. With Prime through January 14th. Bulk up your salads and bowls with this premium protein. While supplies last, shop in-store on supply.
Country Ski in Quincy and Westwood has served the Boston community for over 15 years. Discover Country Ski's seasonal junior league. Country Ski receives a free season to Saddleback Mountain. Book your lease appointment today at countryski.com.
The question always comes up, where to take your vehicle for reliable and trustworthy service, whether it's repair or just maintenance. I know just the place. Meineke Car Care is your one-stop shop for total car care. They handle engines, brakes, oil, tires, and yeah, they do mufflers too. Each Meineke is independently owned and operated. That's why I trust them to handle the maintenance of my personal vehicle. Meineke prides itself on providing exceptional customer service. Go to Meineke.com for the location near you and schedule an appointment today. Trust your key with Meineke, doing car care right.
Coleman! It's electric! Your house was wired in World War I. Need to change it? Call Coleman Electric. You have to charge your new electric vehicle 10 hours to go 2 miles. Call Coleman. Your panel doesn't have enough amps to light 2 lamps. Call Coleman Electric. Everybody knows Coleman Electric, but nobody knows how to spell it. It's not Coleman, it's Coleman. I know, same thing, right? That's the problem. But our Coleman is German, like Colonel Klink. So it starts with a K. Yeah, let me spell it for you. Kuhlman. I know, not easy. People search Coleman Electric and end up with the coleslaw recipe. Worse yet, there's a Coleman funeral home. Folks lose power. They call the funeral home and say, hey, my entire house is dead. Can you give me a quote? It's embarrassing. Just saying there's a big difference between a mortician and an electrician. So next time you have a power problem or project, type Kuhlman and click on that little call thing and Coleman Electric.
Our alien overlords, by the way. I would just like to get that message out there right now as they interfere with our signal, but I welcome the alien overlords.
This static, this crackling is the equivalent to what the Patriots have been for about the past 4 seasons. And hopefully, Mike Vrabel will bring clarity or will be a part of bringing clarity. I don't think he's the full answer. He's not the entire answer, but hopefully he'll bring some clarity to a staticky, crackling Patriots organization.
All right, 1:35, we have Jared Stillman from 102.5 The Game joining us in Nashville. He'll break down the Titans' perspective on the Mike Vrabel experience in Nashville. I think we might have fixed it.
Wow.
Good job, Jeff.
Wow.
Back there. Jeff did it all. This is why we have Jeff Williams, crack producer Jeff Williams today. Thank God. No, in all seriousness, Jeff has crushed it today.
Oh, yes, he
has. A lot
has.
of sound, a lot of phone calls, a little bit more call volume. Managing YouTube. We're still up on YouTube today. Well done, Jeff. One of the best.
Thank you.
Seriously, though, Jeff is a hell of a producer. I'm not just saying that because he has the power to turn our mics off. He is the best. Nobody plays better rejoins at the station than Jeff, too. Known for it. Once a show, I'll get a tweet like, what was that song? I don't know. You got to, what's the Twitter handle?
JMWill985.
At JMWill985.
Man, he even represents the station in his handle?
You should.
Oh, you have to, man. Come on.
Loyalty.
Well, you've got 2 stations. You've got you've got Hot, you've got this, so you're just Boston
L. Irvin, IRVIN.
There you go.
Yeah.
617-779-0985. Jeff getting a lot of love in the YouTube chat, by the way. A lot of love. Static. Ouch. Andrew can't hear us.
Wow.
This sounds like old dial-up there.
I was about to say it
doesn't have that old like 1980s.
It's again. I could associate this with the Patriots. A lot of you out there are celebrating because it takes you back to the good old days. That static did remind me of like kind of the good old days. TV would go off at midnight. You get the Star Spangled Banner to take you to sleep, and then nothing but just static. Good times.
Real quick, I know this is a Mike Vrabel day. Can you give me 30 seconds on a sports experience that I and many other people have had around New England? Did you happen to get an email on Friday or Saturday saying that your cable bill was going to go up to keep Nesson and NBC Sports Boston?
Oh, no. See, I didn't get one because I cut the cord a long time ago. I still use a certain company for the internet, but not for television. I had to cut the cord.
I did it last night. I did it last night, and it was a painful experience.
And maybe
I did not want to cut the cord. I didn't want to do it.
They may be cutting the cord on us right now.
Cutting the cord on me right now. Had to do it. Can't have my bill going up $35-$40. Nope. At that point, and you know, here's the thing too. Like, I have been team cable for so long on this. I think the TV sports product on cable is still the best you can do, right? You get the voice remote, you get the ability to hit the back button, which I really feel like the streaming services haven't figured out. I still feel like the quality on TV is still a little bit better, particularly with the audio. There's just something about that TV thing. I didn't want to give up the cable. I didn't want to do it.
You're right.
But I had to do it. I still think it's a good product.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay significantly more a month when I can get it in other ways.
Oh, yeah.
I will figure it out. I will figure out my roundabout way. I haven't totally figured out what platform I'm going with. I got the YouTube TV trial last night.
Yep.
I watched the games. It was perfectly fine. But again, no Nesson on that, so I got to figure out my Bruins and Red Sox fix.
Yeah.
I could go to Fubo, but then they don't have Turner because I need to get Turner for NHL, NBA, and MLB playoffs, so I can't do that. But I could get Max to go with Fubo because I could get the add-on to Max. See, this is what I've tried to avoid, Leroy.
It's all confusing, yeah.
And they finally forced me into it.
Chaos. Just chaos.
The whole thing's chaos.
Oh, man.
Everything about it's chaos.
Oh, my God. What is going on with this static?
And here I was thinking, well, for the time being, I just could listen to some games on the radio because that's for free. But then I'm going to have to deal with AM static on the FM dial. They're coming to get me, Leroy.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
They're screwing me.
No, it's not fixed. Unbelievable.
What are you going to do?
Okay, so it sounds like when we talk, that's when it is.
Stop. And then we'll just... Because you'll definitely be able to get great. Day for it to happen, too. I think we could all agree with that.
This is the worst timing for this to happen. But I'll tell you this, man. You know, I've learned, and this is going away from sports a little bit, but I've learned, man, you gotta take the punches. Man, this sounds like a song that's out there. But you just gotta flow with things, man. You can only control what you can control. The things you can't control, man, do not lose sleep over it. When the mics go off, don't pound the desk. Don't get upset with yourself. You had nothing to do with the crackling of the mics and all this stuff that's going on. Man, it's just part of the experience of life. One day you'll be able to tell this little story. I don't know how it would come up, but man, we were on there and Mike Vrabel was announced as the new head coach of the Patriots. And in the 1 o'clock hour, everything just went to crap. And guess what? God willing, tomorrow you'll wake up and be breathing and going to do what you got to do. So just enjoy it, man. It's all fun. People taking life way too serious.
Leroy,
I'm dead.
I always need your perspective.
No, it's
seriously.
It's really not that serious. It's really not.
In the end, we're not down the streets trying to save lives at Mass General. We're here doing sports talk radio.
I'll tell you a little secret, and because you are on air, I know for a fact that you get hit up by trolls. Here's how you deal with trolls. You speak to them about life. And you like most trolls are miserable.
Yes.
But if you speak life into them, they quietly just go away. Because the truth and love always prevails.
I like poking them instead.
I do it sometimes too. But that's the message on a beautiful Sunday. The truth and love will always prevail. Now, if we can just get these mics to work.
Apparently, Fubo has a back button, according to Alex Barth. 617-779-0985. We hope we'll be able to get Jared Stillman from 102.5 The Game on in Nashville to talk about the Titans' perspective, but I make no guarantees. We continue. McCarthy, Leroy here on the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5
I've been a lot of places. This is a special place with great leadership, great fans, great direction, great coaching. Enjoy it. It's not like this everywhere. Thank you very much.
We paid attention to those comments up here. You remember that generated some reaction up here, Leroy.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, what are they thinking in Nashville right now? What are they thinking in Tennessee? If you're a Tennessee Titans fan and here comes Mike Vrabel wearing the red jacket and saying, hey, it's not like this elsewhere, and then Mike Vrabel gets fired a short time later, you're like, how would that possibly have gone down in Nashville? I can get you the answer.
Okay.
Let's go to the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Longtime friend of mine in this business, the Mike Felger of Nashville Sports Talk Radio. Really. Oh. He's the afternoon drive host at 102.5 The Game in Nashville. Jared Stillman, big-time Sports Hub listener as well. Jared, did you and Mike Vrabel have a bit of a thing? Did he come after you for coming after him for those comments? What's the deal with it? How did it go over?
Boy, I tell you, man, that's today was a day of validation and vindication for me. Gosh, a year and a half ago when Vrabel said those things, I had heard it, and I was like, kind of seems like a subtle shot there at the Titans, which Vrabel is the king of the passive-aggressive dig that he shouldn't take, but he can't help himself. And so I heard that, and I'm like, it kind of sounds an alarm bell. Teased the topic saying, hey, Mike Vrabel's going to hate this next topic. Played the cut, and I said, am I reading too much into that to say, okay, Vrabel in his life has been with the Steelers, the Texans, the Patriots, the Titans, and Ohio State. I know he's not talking about the Steelers when he says it's not like this everywhere else. The Steelers are one of the finest organizations in football. Sure. I know he's not talking about Ohio State. I mean, I guess he could, in theory, be talking about the Texans. Kind of feels like he's talking about here. And, of course, you know, everybody, local homer, he was a popular coach. Oh, you're reaching, you're whatever. The next day at Vrabel's press conference, he was asked about those comments. He was asked who was parsing them. I was sitting in the press conference, raised my hand, said, I was. And I asked him, I said, when you said it's not like this everywhere, were you talking about here? And Vrabel launched into this long soliloquy about how, I guess, hey, they won the 6 Super Bowls, Jared. And I was like, okay. And then Vrabel told me that I'll never be able to think like him and that I need to think like a dude and think like an athlete. And everybody had a good laugh with that. But I think it was funny because at the time, everybody said it wasn't a big deal. And then when the owner fired him, it came out that those Patriot comments rubbed her the wrong way, which, she's not a great owner in her own right, but that certainly was a huge red flag in the unraveling of what was a good relationship for a while.
Wow. Well, Patriot fans know Mike Vrabel as a player, but if you could, give us some of the pros and cons of Mike Vrabel, the head coach.
Okay, you want the pro and the cons?
Yes.
Here are the pros and the cons. Pro, he's a lot like Bill. Con,
he's a lot
like Bill. So I am telling you this. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but if you've ever seen somebody who hates their family, hates their father. I never want to be like my father. I never want to be like my family. I never want to. And then it's like the older you get, the more you're becoming like your father.
Yep.
That is Mike Vrabel with Bill. I cannot tell you. It was obvious to me, and I used to work with Floyd Reese, who was in the front office in New England when Vrabel was on his way out and when Bill was coaching. And, I guess, Vrabel, I think, took it personally, the way that he was let go. He made some comments about Patriot Place during the lockout, and Belichick got rid of him. And the story here is that Vrabel went to Belichick and said, hey, I don't want to be anywhere else. I'd like to end my career as a Patriot. And a week later, he was a Chief. And so I think Vrabel's always kind of had a little resentment towards Bill. I think everybody that was a part of that group probably has respect for Bill and resentment for Bill.
No doubt.
And so when they played their first game in 2018, they threw a reverse pass for Brady, and Brady dropped it, and the Titans were just beating the crap out of the Patriots. And so on the next drive, Vrabel calls the reverse pass to Mariota. And that was when I knew. I was like, yeah, Vrabel doesn't like Bill. Yeah. Like, he's going to rub Bill's face in it. And the more that Vrabel was the coach of the Titans, the more it was obvious that he was like Bill. He could find things in the rule book and take advantage of it, and he can't wait to show off how smart he is. And there are times that he'll do that. But as things went on here in Tennessee, and as certain roster moves started to get made, certain coaches started to get promoted, it was obvious Vrabel's blind loyalty to his coaches is a problem. And there are guys on his staff that he likes. And there are guys that he wants, that he's got to have, that aren't very good, but they're Vrabel guys, kind of the same way that they had the Bill guys. Yep. And so if I was a Patriot fan, I mean, look, I like Vrabel. I think Vrabel's a good coach. But I would not. To me, this is not a great marriage from the standpoint that I don't know if Vrabel can develop the quarterback. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters. And not only do I not know if Vrabel can develop the quarterback, I also don't know if Vrabel can get an offensive coach in here who can develop the quarterback. I mean, all the reports are saying Josh McDaniels, which is better than the two bozos that he had running the offense after Arthur Smith left in 2020. But at the same time, I mean, when it comes to quarterback development, where are we on Josh? So I am very nervous about that. Vrabel is the kind of coach who thinks he knows everything. And unfortunately, I think that ultimately can bite him in the tush in the end.
It's such an interesting perspective, Jared, that obviously is a lot like Bill Belichick. I think the Patriots actually need a little of that right now, so I think it's in some ways what they need. That being said, you made a comment about the offensive coordinators. The discussion around here, in recent weeks has been, well, yeah, Mike Vrabel isn't, an offensive guy, but he brought in good offensive coaches in Tennessee because he had LaFleur and he had, Arthur Smith. So it's almost like people are saying he knows how to pick an offensive coordinator. Would you agree or disagree with that from your perspective down there?
I completely disagree. He hated Matt LaFleur, and Matt LaFleur hated him. And the reports were he was going to demote Matt LaFleur if Matt LaFleur didn't get the Packer job. Now, I didn't like Matt LaFleur as the offensive coordinator of the Titans either. It took him 12 games to get Derrick Henry off the bench. For the first 12 games of Vrabel's tenure with Matt LaFleur as the offensive coordinator, they thought Deion Lewis was the better running back than Derrick Henry. And I'm not making that up.
No, I remember that. Yeah.
That's, again, Vrabel did not see eye to eye with LaFleur, and it's obvious because in the two games that they played each other, when LaFleur was in Green Bay, they were putting it on at the end in both cases, where you could run the clock out and they threw the ball down the field. So they don't like each other. Arthur Smith, he lucked into. And I think Arthur Smith's a really good coordinator. And, again, this goes back to kind of the pettiness of Belichick that Vrabel has. What happened was Matt LaFleur got the job in Green Bay and was going to take Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator ahead of Nathaniel Hackett. Vrabel, not wanting that to happen, and not wanting LaFleur to take somebody, promoted Arthur Smith to offensive coordinator. I don't know if he would have promoted Arthur Smith if it was not for the pettiness to keep Matt LaFleur from hiring him. But, again, that's how Vrabel is. That's what Parcells is. That's what Bill is. That's what those guys do. And so after that, he promoted Todd Downing from tight ends coach. Todd Downing was atrocious. He was the Jets OC this past year. After that, after 2 years of Downing, and Downing got a DUI after a Green Bay win on Thursday Night Football, they got rid of Downing, Tim Kelly, who was his buddy from the Texans, and get ready for a lot of people from Bill O'Brien's coaching staff in Houston to be on the Patriots coaching staff, because it's like the Bill buddy system. It's the Vrabel buddy system, but Tim Kelly was the offensive coordinator Vrabel's last year here. And I think Tim Kelly's fine, but, it's the Tannehill-Levis situation. The offensive line was a mess. Unless they get Dante Scarnecchia out of retirement, I don't know what they're going to do as far as the offensive line coach is concerned, but Vrabel does not have a clue when it comes to fixing offensive lines. That's going to be a problem. But if you were to ask me, is Vrabel good at finding offensive coaching talent? The answer is no. Again, the good news about Vrabel, he's like Bill. The bad news about Vrabel, he's like Bill. And so my question to you with Bill is, right now, would you trust Bill to find offensive coaching talent? No. Same thing with Vrabel.
Wow. So you said Vrabel likes his guys. That's the. If you could be a little bit more specific, his guys are they yes men, or what does that really mean?
So we used to call it the Vrabel buddy system around here, where it's the Texans buddies. If there was a coach on the coaching staff when Vrabel got the job, and I sympathize with Vrabel a little bit from the standpoint that I think he had been an assistant with the Texans for 3 or 4 years when he got the head coaching job. Vrabel had a much accelerated path. This isn't one of these guys that was cleaning out the ashtrays in the back room and then after 20 years of grinding becomes head coach. Mm-hmm. This was guy who's a good player, coached at Ohio State for a couple of years, coached with the Texans, now he's head coach. So he didn't have a great system of knowing assistant coaches. Mm-hmm. So when he got the job, Matt LaFleur came in as offensive coordinator because Matt LaFleur had interviewed for the head job, and the owner liked Matt LaFleur, and it was kind of like, well, you can call the plays here where you didn't with the Rams, and LaFleur brought in a lot of the offensive coaches. Well, after LaFleur left, it was kind of more Vrabel promoting guys that he had worked with at the Texans or hiring guys that he had worked with at the Texans, guys he had worked with at Ohio State. And the one thing that was really concerning to me was Dean Pease was hired as the defensive coordinator. If you remember, he was the defensive coordinator under Bill. Yep. Dean Pease was hired when Vrabel got the job. And the first 2 years, Dean Pease, I thought, did a really good job. And he was a veteran coach that Vrabel needed. And after that, there was clearly friction between the two because Dean retired. And as soon as Arthur Smith got the head job in Atlanta, Dean unretired. And so I found that to be very suspicious.
But the same thing happened here, by the way. Like Dean stepped away from New England, ended up in Baltimore because there was friction between Dean and Bill. As you said, yeah. Mike and Bill, basically the same.
It's the same. And basically, what some of the former players had said was, Mike tried to take over too much on defense. So Shane Bowen was with Vrabel at Ohio State, and I think he was with Vrabel at the Texans, and he becomes defensive coordinator. And he's fine. I mean, I wouldn't be excited about Shane Bowen or not excited about Shane Bowen. But again, all these guys they were hiring, they basically were all coming from the Texans. All guys Vrabel had worked with in the past. That's actually why I think the year in Cleveland might have been good, so that Vrabel can get to know some more people, so that he can hire some more coaches. But it is a Vrabel buddy system. And I'm going to tell you this again. The more success Vrabel had, the more Vrabel thought the success was about him. And I think, and I was talking to somebody about Mac Jones, for instance. Yep. because there's for teams that don't have quarterbacks, and the Titans clearly don't have one. They have a Mayo pitchman. But for the teams that don't have quarterbacks, there's this talk about, okay, who could they, could you reclamate Justin Fields? Could you reclamate Mac Jones? And the one thing I'll say about Mac Jones was we were talking, and I said, you know what, though? Bill Belichick went on this I'm smarter than everybody tour, and if there was any shot Mac Jones had at being successful, that ruined him. Was Bill trying to say, I'm smarter than everyone, I'm going to make Matt Patricia the offensive coordinator, and you'll see because I'm so smart. And Vrabel's got that too, where sometimes he's like, and again, I think Vrabel's a great coach. I think Bill's one of the greatest coaches of all time. But there's sometimes where Vrabel gets I'm so smart that my cronies and I, we know, you don't know, trust us because we know, and that's a problem.
Jared, we've got about 2 minutes here. Why did it not work out in the end in Tennessee? Was Vrabel ultimately responsible for, the downfall of the Titans? Who was more responsible? Like, where do you assign the blame pie, and where does Mike Vrabel fit into all of that?
Okay, so when we think about kind of the end of the Patriot dynasty, right, it's a three-person group between Bill, Kraft, and Brady, right? And it's, Brady wanted the contract, and Bill didn't want to give it to him, and Kraft sided with Bill, and then Kraft got mad at Bill because he sided with Bill over Tom. There was something kind of similar here, granted without the 6 Super Bowls and the greatest quarterback who ever lived. Yeah. But it was really between Vrabel, the general manager, John Robinson, and the owner, Amy Adams Strunk. And the Titans had a little bit of success, and Vrabel won Coach of the Year, and Robinson had been drafting incredibly well up until 2019, and then there started to be some cracks in the foundation. And what I believe is everybody got arrogant, that Robinson thought he was the greatest general manager, and he locked himself in the room, and if he could do it over again, I think he'd do it differently. I think Vrabel thought, I'm the coach, I am so smart, I'm the reason we win, everybody needs to listen to me, and I don't need to kiss the owner's tush. I don't need to do any of that. I can just be Mike Vrabel, and everybody around me can kiss the feet of King Vrabel. And I think that pissed the owner off. And then I think the owner, as we've seen in the last week, is completely off her rocker. And that's how you end up with a bad coach and firing the general manager and a terrible team and the number one pick. And so I really think it was kind of this thing where everybody put their head up their ass and thought that they weren't the problem. And I think that ultimately it led to the deterioration of the relationship, was everybody thought they were smarter than they actually were.
All right, that's Jared Stillman from 102.5 The Game in Nashville. The best thing I can say about you, Jared, is you make me legitimately care about Tennessee Titans football and Nashville sports. Anytime I see your stuff on Twitter, I'm like, man, I love your stuff. And seriously, thanks for your insights and your many opinions, which are always good. And keep up the good work, bud. I'm a fan.
Sounds good, guys. Give Vrabel my best.
All right. We will. That's Jared Stillman. Follow him on Twitter at Jared Stillman. As I said, Tennessee Mike Felger. I think we can agree with that. Mm-hmm. It's hot stuff from Stillman. Not much facilitation there from Stillman, as always. He's the best. Love Jared. Appreciate his time. 617-779-0985. We continue. It's McCarthy and Leroy.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
So, Leroy, you still feeling good about the Mike Vrabel hire after Jared Stillman from 102.5 The Game in Nashville joined us?
Yeah, I mean, I feel about the same. You know, nobody really knows how it's going to work out here. We just got to wait and see. But I do agree that today, if you are a Patriots fan, you should feel somewhat excited. It does feel good. If it's because of the connection to the past or because it feels like there's some type of stability starting to take hold here with the organization, you should be happy.
Tennessee Felger will not kill my buzz today. Nope, won't happen. I think it's the right hire. I think it's the perfect hire. And actually, the reasons why Jared Stillman from 102.5 The Game in Nashville had a problem with Vrabel is he brings in his own guys. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's exactly what we need. We don't need any more of Robert Kraft's guys or Elliot Wolf's guys or any of his cronies. Nope. We need Vrabel's guys. That's the way it needs to happen.
I will say
yes,
this.
I hope so.
You can't dismiss what he said. You can't you can't totally dismiss what he said.
I welcome all of it. Yeah. I welcome all takes here on the program. How could you not? Wow. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't perfect. As we talked about with Alex Barth earlier on in the program, there is no such thing as a perfect head coaching candidate. Because if the candidate were perfect, he would have had a job already. So, listen, I think it's a good day for the Patriots. I think it's a really, really good day for the Patriots. You should be excited. I'm excited. The Elliot Wolf news kind of tampered my expectations and excitement a little bit, but for the most part, it's a good day.
And I will remind you, Matt, it is a report. And sometimes, most of the time, reports end up being wrong. You know, and the person said, I forget who it was, but they said that they believe. It's not a fact. They just believe, and, you know, it's something to look at. But I would be disappointed if they kept Elliot Wolf, but who knows?
Leroy, as always, it's been fun.
Oh, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
It's been a great time. Let's do it again. Next Sunday, 10 to 2.
Oh, yeah.
Should be a good time, and very much looking forward to it. Coming up next, we got Nick Cattles and Mark Dondero. You guys doing a lot of Bruins talk today? Celtics, what do you got going on here? Yeah. You said Ben Solak said it's a B+. Yes. The Vrabel hire is a B+. Jared Stillman says it's an F. I say A. A move for the Patriots. Leroy, let's do it again next Sunday.
All right, let's do it.
Jeff Williams, great work today. All the calls, the YouTube, everything, outstanding work from Jeff Williams.
Tire Studios. This is Boston's home for